Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Christoph Fournier, John Travolta, JMels24, Unamento, M, Iron26, Endless, Flat Earth Sage, Goldie McKiernan, Retro Bill, More Books, Cannabear, Fibre Oats, Bogey, Michael Kahn, Rob H, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Mel B. Styles, Troy Shuker, Harry Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Abraham Mohammed, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Gilded and G+, so you can enjoy their conversation while I set up for today's live show.
Yeah, fantastic. How are you?
Anybody see that thing I posted with Neil deGrasse Tyson the other day?
Negative.
Oh my God, you got to see it. Let me see if I can find it.
I was too broke up about Tennessee's loss to watch it, Neil.
God, don't even get me started. Don't even get me started. How do you... Listen, here's the thing. You don't chase points. I'm not talking about the Vols. They got destroyed. They couldn't handle being ranked number one. Bama, on the other hand, you're chasing points. You score 2 touchdowns. You go for a 2-point conversion twice. Why? You don't do that, you win in regulation. Stupidity, man.
Did Bama lose again?
Bama lost to LSU in overtime. Bama scores on the first overtime possession. They kick it. Freaking LSU scored 1 play. Quarterback gets away, runs for a touchdown. They went for 2, won the game. Won the freaking game.
Oh, man. I'm sorry, Neil.
Nick Saban let a Yankee come down to the South and beat him. Freaking Brian Kelly.
You know, Bama's only losses are in conference, though.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's grueling to go to play on the road in the SEC is no joke. Now they still got to deal with Auburn. Auburn could be 1-9 when they play, and that's still going to be a battle. But listen, too many things have to happen. I think Georgia has to lose. The Volunteers have to lose again. And that'll still give them the tiebreaker over Bama.
Georgia ain't losing. You know, the good thing is Georgia and Tennessee are in the same division, the SEC, so we won't have to play them again until the championship.
That's correct. And Alabama doesn't even play them this year, which is bullshit to me. Why can't we have Georgia at home? We never get them at home. We always get them there. Even in the championship game, it's always played in Georgia.
Right, and on top of that, even if Bama wins its division, which is they're still going to make the championship. If it's 16 teams, there's no way that Bama ain't going to be top 16 unless they lose to Auburn.
No, I think they were saying they're dead. They're pretty much impossible. Too many things have to happen for them to even make the playoff. Crazy, right?
No way. See, that's why I don't like the way the SEC's set up. I don't like it.
Well, too many of the good teams are in there. Spread them out a little bit.
Yep. Yeah, you gotta break that division in half. Just make SEC East and SEC West and treat them like different divisions, you know?
Yeah. So this Neil deGrasse Tyson thing, it was about the Webb, James Webb telescope thing. Oh my God, you got to hear what he was saying. I don't think we can play it though because it's a NBC like interview, so Nathan probably won't be able to play it.
Can you paraphrase him?
I'm gonna go check out some stuff right now. Give me a second.
Leave all that empty air space. Anybody in Gilded?
Yeah, there's people there.
Yeah, here.
That you, Paul?
No, you're Paul. That's Georgie. Anybody see Ringo?
I don't know if everybody's going to get the Beatles references. I barely get them, and I'm 42. You know what I'm saying?
I'll do something better. I'll read QE's comments on it. You ready? Infrared has good penetration depth into gas clouds, because he's claiming that there's gas clouds that the James Webb telescope is filming. By the way, it's the same reason why the fog lights on your car are more red and amber than blue. The more red you are into the spectrum, the deeper into clouds you can penetrate. So the James Webb telescope shoots infrared light into second law of thermodynamics, violating gas clouds in vacuums. Laughing. Yes, the fog lights on my car are red. Is it everyone else's? He was talking about how that's the reason why our fog lights are red. Oh my gosh. It was just a joke, the things he was talking about with this telescope. Total violation.
Does he not understand? I don't think Neil deGrasse Tyson knows that infrared isn't actually the color red. Just from that quote, I don't think Neil deGrasse Tyson understands colors.
What's the quote?
What's that?
You said Neil deGrasse Tyson, based on that quote, doesn't know what colours are. Now I'm colourblind, so it just sparked my interest from the kitchen. So what's the quote?
I'm just reading QE's responses. Let me get his quote. Give me a second.
I can give you a paraphrase, but it's probably better if you hear the actual quote. That
Okay, get the paraphrase. I'm getting it.
Yeah, just paraphrase it, John.
Well, he said that infrared light from the James Webb telescope goes into nebula in space, and that's why the fog lights on your vehicle are red, because red goes into fog.
Who is he saying this to?
First he says these are the remnants of a star as he's looking at these pictures. How does he know it's the remnants of a star? He's talking to a news reporter on Channel 4, one of the local, not local, but across the whole states, one of the major news stations.
Yeah, just because it's got red in it, you know what I mean? Like infrared, that's a frequency. That's I don't know. Somebody needs to explain it to him.
most things with Tyson are 100% intentional. So he's too well choreographed to make mistakes. So I'd have to, as much as a virtually paraphrased version, it'd be good to hear the original in context version, because he's just so good. I would expect that to be intentional. Now, given that we're currently talking about how light has become categorized with wavelength and the diffraction patterns that you create, and if a given diffraction pattern is labeled as infrared, that's just a label. It's arbitrary. It doesn't have anything necessarily to do with the color red. And you're saying that he's directly associating the tail lights of a car so that you do make that association.
Correct. Now, what he was saying was, the guy asked him, he goes, now, how many of these are real? Are they images, or are they, is it artist rendition? And Neil deGrasse was like, okay, all right, so you're going to go there. So let me explain it to you. And then he starts breaking down the color spectrum and how we see and how these are totally authentic.
I'm sure they are. There's nothing wrong with any images from space until you start describing space as being a sky vacuum that you can travel through, and light having a certain time duration for certain distances that you lay down when you're assuming are. But in terms of saying these pictures are legit, you're like, yeah, okay. But that doesn't in any way validate your heliocentric assumptions, even if they are in infrared and coloured in. I don't really care. Great. I still look at some of those images because you're like, if they are genuinely just good sky images, I've got an interest in that.
Well, it was the way that he says associates infrared images with fog lights.
Right.
It's that if that is intentional, it's still stupid.
As I say, like when we're talking and discussing about light not being a wave, and I don't know, I'll have to hear it. I'll have to hear it before I pass judgment. I've got to be honest, I do take quite a delight in pulling apart Neil deGrasse Tyson's statements, because I've got a fair degree of admiration for him as a wizard. I'm not saying I'm a wizard, but I studied magic at college and studied wordplay. We all did English. That's all this is. So his exceptionally good use of English in terms of manipulation at various different levels of intelligence, to me, is admirable and worth analysis.
Can you play it, or you can't play it?
Well, the thing is, even Houdini would mess up. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. There is a limit to his intelligence, and if he's just got something wrong, yeah, I'll be the first to say, oh, yeah, nobody's perfect. Doesn't, distract from any of his other exceptionally good magic tricks that keep the world on a spinning ball. And he's got a very big part to play in that.
Well, if you want to play it, it's in Ball Busters. If you scroll up a couple of things, you'll see it.
If I could say anything about it as a magic trick, it's getting you to reify your headlights shining into fog as the same thing as them looking through a telescope into a nebula, as far as magic tricks go.
Well, it's in Ball Busters if you want to play it.
Speaking of ballbusters, did you know that this guy Mitchell from Australia, a place that no flat earther believes exists, is actually live streaming the lunar eclipse where the Earth gets in between the sun and the moon?
Yeah, I think Flat's right is too.
What? Sun gets in between? No. Definitely not. I've seen one with my own eyes. That is definitely not the case by the way of movements and how shadows work. No. But Mitchell from Australia, yes, I've definitely heard of him. And he's going to be streaming the lunar eclipse. Brilliant. I'll check it out on his stream. Hopefully the quality's good. We shall see.
I was trying to plug it a little bit. Keep it relevant to the conversation.
I know.
Anyway, it was a good amount of wizardry going on.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, that one's not really good.
I was just distracted doing something else for a few minutes, but you say it's a few. Neil deGrasse Tyson. Okay, here we go. Just skip over this ad.
Finally tonight, a new era in astronomy. NASA releasing a full batch of images and data from the massive James Webb Space Telescope, providing a first look at the cosmic mysteries yet to be untangled by the largest and most powerful space observatory. And who better to help us untangle this tonight than America's top astrophysicist, maybe the world's top astrophysicist.
So have you got a timestamp for when he says this, Neil?
Right now, it's only like I think it's a minute and a half long.
I can't play a minute and a half of someone else's video, Neil. I need a timestamp.
You scroll ahead a little bit, he gets into it. I don't know exactly where, no.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Anyway, I don't think this is anywhere on the level of the slapping the beach ball and saying that stuff is flat.
No, it's not. But he's a good bullshitter. He's got the guy mesmerized.
That doesn't take much. He's got decades of indoctrination mesmerizing him already.
You see how he gassed him up right in the beginning? Maybe the world's best astrophysicist.
Yeah, you could see in his eyes when it cut to him, he was like a little bit taken back by that, wasn't he? He was like, okay.
Feed me, feed me, feed me.
Yeah. It looks like we're not going to assess this, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening. I'm sorry. Hey, 10th.
Hey. Good morning.
Morning. Everything okay?
If you scroll up halfway through, then play 15 seconds, see if you catch it.
Yeah, let's randomly watch this video in different parts.
Yeah, that sounds like no, I'm not going to do that. Don't worry about it. If you haven't got the exact quote timestamped, just don't worry about it. We've discussed it and we've seen his face smiling and taken aback that he's been called the world's best.
Well, we agree with that. Magician, though, not astrophysicist.
Yeah, same thing.
Same thing.
Well, they don't know. They're not doing science. Give them a break.
Yeah, well, maybe they do. Maybe they don't. Some of them do. Michio Kaku definitely does. He knows.
He states it without shame that nobody in his field uses the scientific method.
Right. So at a very conscious level, some of them are acutely aware of this.
May I ask what you're talking about?
Neil deGrasse Tyson stating that infrared was akin to lights on the back of cars when describing images that are taken in infrared from the James Webb Telescope.
Context, please.
That is it. That's all the context. Just telling the guy that they're great and they're legit. That's it.
Back of car, tail lights, and infrared are cousins now?
Apparently. As I said to John, my only way of contextualizing it for us, obviously focusing inwardly, is to say we're currently covering how the derivation of light as a diffraction pattern and then put into arbitrary naming structures like infrared when detailing a diffraction pattern isn't waves. But other than that, I don't see how the magic trick's going to be useful. And Neil doesn't have a timestamp to give us the precise context.
Go 2 minutes in.
2 minutes in. So specific. 2 minutes, 1 second, and 50 milliseconds?
2 minutes exactly. It's pretty funny there.
2 minutes exactly. Okay.
Very strong gravitational field surrounding it. Meanwhile, galaxies behind it, these that are curved into arc shapes, They're light passing through the universe, minding its own business. It sees this distortion in the fabric of space and time, and it curves in response to it. Einstein predicted this.
There could be planets. There could be another.
See?
No, Neil, no. Let's just give up now. I'm going to cut my losses now.
No, I wasn't.
It's all
playing
right.
the light
No,
thing, but that
no
was
apologies are
brilliant.
needed. It's all good.
Oh my gosh, just his passion of this fairy tale was fantastic. I got to tell you, the guy could put me to sleep with a good night story.
Just for the record, I was not giving you the timestamp. I heard that and I thought it would be interesting.
I see. Very good.
The nonsense and the passion in which he tells it.
Well, the galaxies and planets.
Well, the only thing I could think about hearing that is, well, that's nice, Uncle Neil, but did you know that outer space is a violation of the second law of thermodynamics?
Well, you didn't hear
He
him.
knows it, though.
I
You
had-
know
I
him.
had
Hold on a sec.
I had two reification fallacies and a begging the question fallacy in one sentence. That's what I had.
Look, Einstein perfectly predicted what would happen in a place that can't exist. Therefore, Einstein was right about the place that doesn't exist.
That's what he basically
Exactly.
said. Yeah, that's correct. When he talked about the bending of space-time. What, the fourth dimensional time-based fabric that we don't live in? We don't live in that. It's only described in Einstein's maths. Described in Einstein's maths isn't anything to do with our physical reality. The three-dimensional reality isn't your pseudo-Ramonian force-based reality that you say light sees and sees it being bent. No, that's a definite reification fallacy. Doesn't do anything.
No, the telescope confirms it, Nathan. That's what this whole thing is.
Is that what you were trying to interrupt me for the whole time? Thank you, Neil.
Yeah, it confirms
Thank you
that,
so much.
that fourth space is real.
Thank you. Yes. The underlying context didn't need to be chattered through the top of me 5 times. But thank you anyway.
Oh, sorry, Jesus.
King of Kings. I don't understand how a telescope can tell you what space is.
Tell you what it looks
not-
like.
World. It's letting the world know. The world is deceived, so they got to keep putting it out there. You understand?
No, no,
I got it. I can piece it together for you. See, what happens is the gas lamp in Narnia is the cause of entropy in the real world. And because my bread becomes toast, therefore Narnia is real.
There you go.
Right, that's written by the Narnians, and they predicted that gas lamp's calculation. Like 100
Right.
years ago, easily. They got it right too in the maths, didn't they, John?
Yep,
What is
the
it
bread
called?
becomes toast, just like the prediction said.
Exactly.
Wait, what are they called? Narnians?
Yeah, it's fifth dimensional. It's like one better than Einsteinian.
Okay, all right.
Got
And
length,
it's not pseudo-Romanian, it's extra-Romanian.
extra, that's right, extra Romanian, because it's one more, it's better. So you got length, breadth, depth, time, and wardrobe. The wardrobe is the fifth dimension. Time is the fourth. Length, breadth, and depth is what we exist in.
It's so out there that's why people have a problem coming out of the closet to tell you.
Well, that's where you're wrong. It's actually in there. People often confuse that with the fifth dimension. But as I say, it was all predicted by the Narnians over 100 years ago. The maths for the gas lamp was correct. Toast was made. It was all predicted. So saith the Narnians in 100 and, what was it? 107 years ago? Something like that.
I think that was Albert Aslan that said it.
That's right,
Hold
Albert
on.
Aslan.
I got your pun, Tent, but what happened is they got hung up in the closet.
Albert Einstein's low rent Mexican equivalent. And he got there first. By about a month, from memory.
A solid month.
A solid
At
month
least.
with an extra dimension, like one whole more dimension.
Is it the water closet?
Say again, Jorge?
Is it the WC water closet?
Very good, Jorge. Well,
Good.
it's no different than when John shows us a transformative equation, Haversine, to converting the flat Earth into a globe. So they have all these transformative, begging the question, places, and then they start their story. But they got to make it up first, because it's not in reality.
But math is fun.
Brother asked me, why is math not reality?
That's part of the magic trick, making you think that maths is science. Science is physics. Physics is the physical. So if they can make you think that maths is the physical, then you'll believe that it's science. And I hear it all the time. People talking about maths and saying it's science. Or apologising for not taking good enough measurements and saying, I've not done it scientifically. You mean you've not measured it very accurately? Nothing scientific was done. You know, watching overclocking videos where they're talking about, it's just a science. The numbers don't lie. No, it's not a science, and numbers do lie. Absolutely, they do.
So
I've got 3 apples. No, go on. Sorry.
No, is that Mr. Sensible at best qualifies for this one?
At best, you debunk the radius of the Earth.
Yeah. Does that fall into the category of, well, we just got it wrong?
Getting it wrong? But the numbers were right. They don't lie, do they? Yeah, they do. Yeah. You can make up a whole dimension and create a world in that dimension. Tell you about how the maths is correct and how it works. Just works. Therefore, your reality is that 4th dimension in the maths? No, it isn't. It's a good trick, though.
I just think it's amazing how he can just rattle off what's going on the video, what he sees, and explain everything. It's amazing.
Not really. It's rhetoric. It's going through like me, like doing the housekeeping. You know, when you get that contextually ingrained in your mind, you can leap to certain parts of it, like riding a bike. You know, it's just his persona doing what it does. That's how he does it so fluidly on the fly, seemingly. Oh, right, well, he's obviously not got a script in his hand. Well, no, he hasn't, but he has got his script, like I've got my script. Do I have a piece of paper? Have I written anything down? Have I learnt anything? No, but I've gone through my rhetoric over and over and over and over again and put it out to the public to be debunked over and over and over and over and over again. And that results in you knowing it well. So when people say, it's on the behavioural panel, they'll talk about people going through their script. And again, they don't mean that they've written stuff down. It means that they use this word, rehearsed it. Well, what's rehearsing? Well, going through it when there's no audience. Mentally talking your way through it.
Not what I meant. I meant how he could do that, knowing that it's not reality, and continue to bullshit.
How do you know that? You can't level that at Neil deGrasse Tyson's door. I can level it at an astronaut's door, not his. Go on then, let's see your case for Neil deGrasse Tyson knowing that what he's saying is not true.
So you don't think he knows?
I don't know either way.
Gas pressure cannot be even achieved without containment.
And how would he know that he's not gone to an area claimed to be that when he hasn't claimed to have gone there? He's just backing up the people who say they have, who are the liars. I can categorically say that. I can't say it about Neil deGrasse. He might be, he might not be. I don't know. But his motive's irrelevant. But there are certain people you can put that at their door without shame. Astronauts who claim to have been to space, outer space, which is fake. They're all liars. People who claim to have been in orbit of a spherical Earth. Liars. They're not. They know they're not.
Well, let me try it. The begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking, Earth curve calculator. It's marked with an X, labeled horizon, based on the R value. Debunked by the Black Swan. Welcome to Flat Earth.
You think he's even seen the Black Swan? I think he has. This word has gone further than you think.
Maybe, maybe not. But you can't say he's a liar. You can't say he's punting something that he knows is wrong and ask how can he do that when he knows it's a lie if you don't know he's lying. As far as he may be concerned, it might be the truth and nothing but.
And even if he's heard the information, it doesn't mean that he's understood it either. So you can't say that, oh, he's heard this somewhere.
No way.
So you cannot say that just because someone has heard the information that they have comprehended it.
Why did everyone miss it?
I could agree that maybe pride will get in the way, and all his education system, he's not going to just toss that out and say, "Oh shoot, the world is flat," so he has to hold to this. But seeing it and not understanding it, no.
Why did everyone miss it? I read what Nathan says naturally, the way Neil deGrasse says naturally.
But that's not what I meant when I said it's amazing how he rattles it off like that. I meant that he knows what he's talking about, and how can you continue to lie?
Liars rattle off things too, and people who tell the truth rattle off things too, and people who are being lied to rattle off what they're told, but they don't. They're just rattling it off because they've memorized it and they believe it, but they're rattling off a lie or a falsehood. You can rattle off all kinds of things with passion. Listen to a debate. Well, that was a conversation killer.
I blame Neil.
Why
Well,
not?
when someone
Keep everything.
when someone is mocking, well, I'll just use me because it happens quite often. If someone's mocking me for bringing up flat Earth or any derivation of flat Earth, I'll just look at them and say, "Hey, let me ask you a question. If I could prove to you that the Earth is not a sphere and that we've all been lied to, would you have coffee with me and listen to the evidence?" That shuts him up real quick.
It's time for me to start putting pressure on Neil deGrasse Tyson. I'm going to go back into his little, what do you call that? Whatever chat he's in there. And I'm going to invite him to a flat Earth debate.
Why?
You're welcome to, Neil, but he won't come.
Yeah.
I can dream.
Why
Right,
would it be a
it's
dream?
like asking.
Why would it be a dream to have Neil deGrasse Tyson come here? I mean, don't get me wrong, I understand from a marketing point of view and a PR point of view and all the positive things for me, I can understand entirely why I would want that or you would want that. But my point is that why would you ever dream that that would ever happen?
I want to see how he responds to our housekeeping questions. That's all.
Boxers don't get in the ring with bums for a reason, because anything can happen, right? He's going to look at us as bums in his mind, and he ain't going to put himself in a situation where he could lose. So
what does he say about personality? There's a saying he says that he won't debate because if somebody has charisma or something, they may believe them instead of was really laying down the truth.
Yeah, pure projection of his own apprehensions of his own ability. That's all that is.
His whole defense is, I got the science. I don't need to debate. I might lose to a person with charisma and a good debating skills, but why would I even do that? I already won because I got the science. That's where he's at. Well, I know that, but that's what they hide around that cloak of science.
Yeah, that's what he can say without challenge when he's stating that he doesn't need to because he's already won. Why have I already won? Because I've already got all the science behind me. Well, there's nobody there to challenge him to say, have you? Let's see what scientific evidence you've got for gravity then, Mr. Tyson. Off you go. Obviously, he's not in that position and the guy in front of him is not going to challenge him. So he can declare his victory. And he's in a position in terms of his exposure to the masses to do so without any challenge whatsoever. And we're just pigs that he doesn't want to get dirty with.
Yeah, but didn't they do that at the beginning of Flat Earth debate, right? Don't you remember? They thought they had all the science.
They're still doing... Well, I'll let John go and then I'll say something. Go, John.
I was just going to say, like, if he is ever challenged, it will be from someone else in academia, probably from the real sciences that challenges him.
Yes, the same people who've challenged Cox when they're in like these round table discussions, and there's like 12 of them. Cox will come out with something stupid, and a real scientist will challenge him on it. point out where he's wrong and his understanding's incorrect. Normally of rhetoric, but it doesn't matter. You know, these people get corrected normally by higher authorities, one where they stand to gain in their own credibility, their own kudos, their own status, by being around them and discussing things with them. And that is the scenario where they have something to gain by being there, and they're put in their place by somebody who's their superior, either intellectually or in hierarchy terms, but somebody higher up puts them down. Like I say, you haven't got to look very far to find examples of it with Cox.
Well, I was going to say that's happening all the time, or did, until they stopped coming because they lost so bad. People came on this show, all the characters, we know them, and they say we have the science. And then Nathan asks, "Oh, yeah, show us the science," and they fall apart every single time. Okay, so then John, on the sextant challenge, so to speak, with McToon and Ruhif, said, "Look, I'll concede to everything, and I'll debate you with conceding to everything. I just have two points to make." Well, he beat him because he went to the crux of it, and all they had was the fluff. And then they complained that he didn't go through all the math and all the steps. He says, no. I give that to you, but you need a flat earth for that, right? Which they know they do, so they didn't want to concede. John just took him to the bare bones.
Brutal.
Well, I mean, that's really the only thing I wanted to illustrate with that challenge, is that I don't have to argue, or we don't have to argue any other point. Those two statements, the black swan and the elevation angle, those two, well, I don't even know if I'd call them arguments anymore, but those two understandings stop heliocentrism altogether.
The knockout blow. 1-2 punch.
It destroys any attempt to beg the question. It
Right.
saves hours of time, and you get right to it. And you put a nice $100 bill there on the table and say, winner take all. And it's just like, you want me to put 100 of my dollars, and if you win, you get my 100? I go, yeah, exactly. Winner take all. Let's get right to the bottom. Won't take but more than 5-8 minutes for both arguments to be explained and understood.
I'm going to call the show this. The show is going to be called the one. Would it have a comma? 1, 2 punch. The 1-2 punch. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, you could probably
That's
say it.
correct. 1-2 punch.
Yeah, the
1,
1-2
2 punch. Yeah.
That's what it's going to be called. So we're going to focus on John's devastating use of those two arguments, because he's right. You know, for ages, literally years, people would say, well, what's the silver bullet? So people would be coming to the debate at the time, and they're like, all you do is take apart heliocentrism. Where's your flat earth silver bullet? And then the black swan comes around, and apart from some murmurings from people who just don't want to learn it or don't like it because it's ours or whatever, you know, essentially that's it, right? That's the end of your argument. That's the end of your sphere earth. There is no other way of describing what you're seeing, because it's only perspective based. You've got no alternatives left in terms of a curving surface at that point. What are you left with then? Well, you're left with a flat earth. Well, how can you prove it? Well, you can prove it by how it's navigated, how you measure it. Elevation angles prove it. It's how everything's being done around you in terms of how things move around. It's how the maps are made. They're all derived from the celestial sphere model. It's how the world works. So those 2 points are all you need. That's it. That's all you need. I mean, you could actually turn it into a top 3 with gas pressure without a container, because a lot of their Narnia nonsense comes from an area you can't visit, as Math Powerland pointed out right at the beginning of my investigation into this subject, which is it's in a place that the photos have come from, a place that you will never go, that you can never, ever, ever see. Why? Well, because they can't be seen. That place isn't real. You're never going to get to it even if you tried, because it isn't real, like trying to get to Narnia. So with those 3 points, you absolutely obliterate all aspects of heliocentrism and prove the Earth is flat. So it's not just a silver bullet. It's, you know, it's half a 6-shooter. You know what I mean?
Well, as far as like normal people go that you meet on the street, the gas pressure without a container would be number one to them.
It is,
but
for me.
anybody.
That's the first thing I would do. If somebody brings it up and I have to give them something on the spot, and I don't necessarily want the conversation to drag out forever, for an eternity, or have to justify my position beyond that statement, that's all I do. Look up to the sky and go, so you think that's a vacuum? What do you know about vacuums? They suck up all the gas. Right. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that place isn't real. Moving on. And that's how I'll leave it, because I don't want to discuss further my, non-belief in it when they've got their own unequivocal understanding of what a vacuum is. And then you just look up at the sky and go, so you reckon that's a vacuum, do you? It's very interesting.
I did, I shared yesterday, we went shooting at on some BLM land, Bureau of Land Management, where you can just shoot at targets and stuff. So, everyone there's three of us, we were all flat earthers. So we were talking about some of these arguments. And so I brought up gas pressure without containment. And I said, let me ask you a question. He says, all right. I go, can you have gas pressure without containment? He says, no. I said, can you have a vacuum without containment? No. Can you have temperature without containment? No. And I said, so there goes the open system and where rockets and all these supposed things are out there, right? He says, yeah, that's pretty good. So yeah, it's strong.
Pretty good.
Well,
okay.
Well, I mean, there was nothing else you could say. It takes care of it all. Like if they say, well, I think there's a vacuum, great, you need a container, and your model is absent of a containment. I mean, so it dies on every point, even the point where they don't want it to die. It's crippled, it's crawling before it loses its last heartbeat. Yeah, but what? Oh yeah, fine.
That's still my favorite gas pressure without a container. I'm sorry, I love all the other ones, but when you a regular person, they can grasp that.
Yeah, but the other ones are so essential and so good. Let me see,
Yes.
time-wise. I'll tell you why. Because, I just put the ball into their court, pun intended. Look, if you can show me curvature, I'll believe in the sphere of Earth. In fact, here's the formula for it.
Oh, I've misspelled punch. The 1-2 push. No, P-U-C-H. What does that spell?
P-U-C-H. Push.
Whoops. Let's just correct that. I blame Neil for that. He was distracting me while I was doing it.
My bad.
Well, as far as debunking, if it's a globe, gas pressure without a container doesn't address that question directly. You can infer things afterwards.
Yeah, that's true. That's why I said. That's why I sort of strapped it on to the end, as it could be part of the top three. But it's simultaneously, it's lacking in many ways, but it's simultaneously so eye-opening because the whole globe Earth paradigm is wrapped in a vacuum. So it's kind of, I like it for that though. Sometimes something that's exceptional is very narrow in its abilities. Do you know what I mean? Like imagine a dentist's drill, right? It's very, very, very hyper specific in terms of what its job it can do, right? Well, can you put a hole in my wall so I can hang this? No, you can't do that with this drill. But it's a drill, yeah. But it's very specific in terms of what it can do. Does it do that? Yeah, it does it really well, but only that, right? So it's not. That's a bit like the gas pressure without a container. It's the dentist drill of the arguments.
I don't know. I had an imagery in my mind of a boxer with the 1-2 punch being his right and left fist, and gas pressure being his cape as he came into the ring.
No, that's his uppercut.
Well, he's already got his two hands with the 1-2 punch, so the cape has to be gas pressure, where it's his name, his logo, like the cloak over the two killing arguments.
We got a boxer. We're not talking about Superman.
Well, boxers come in with stuff over with their logo and everything. Haven't you seen a boxing match?
The thing is, though, we can let a baller come in here and preach for 35 minutes, and with just those 3 points, destroy everything he said and sit down.
Yeah, well, I like the gas spectroscopic container because it will cause them to be curious, and then they will see and look into the other things. And then when you find the black swan and the elevation angle, and forget it, it's over.
The three are linked forever. Those three have to be together because the NASA's claim to be in space, I mean, that one, the gas pressure is so good. Just for that.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now we are joined by Neil, Arwin, 10th Man, Brian's Logic, Refracted Curvature, and a whole bunch of people in Gilded, so welcome one and all.
Good morning.
Hello.
Morning. Hey, Brian.
Hey.
Hey, Tim. Hey, Nathan. Hey, everyone.
Let's get her going. We had a great pre-show. Keep it going.
It just took the air out of me when he started the show. I can't do it.
Can't do what? We're going to be talking about the 1-2 punch if the name doesn't make it clear what we're talking about. Because John went out on a debating session with MC Toon and Ruhif. Is that correct? Have I got the correct duo? It's been a couple of weeks. In any event.
That is the dynamic.
Go on.
That is the dynamic duo.
Right.
Ruhif and McLean.
And he talked about going out to debate anybody who would take him up on the idea that he would concede essentially every point that was being made and only make 2 argumentation points and win. And those 2 points were made and used to win outright, without exception, without rebuttal, without any challenge, because there is no challenge. And we're going to go through those 2 points after housekeeping. So, any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
No, but they would have to be a physical geometric situation for the ballers. But as we know, with the weather, it changes. So, obviously, it can't be.
That's
How
right.
about moon down and moonrise?
The moon, what? Sorry, Arwin?
Moon down and moonrise proves the geometric horizon, right?
No. So if another first problem with that is show me one.
That's what I would say.
He's asked
Yeah,
a really
that was the point.
hold on. He's asked a really interesting question because what he's suggesting or inferring is that the moon would go behind the geometric horizon, which would be at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, according to globe maths. However, this is like what's as rare as hen's teeth. Correct me if anybody else has seen one of these. Has anybody seen the moon rise above the horizon? The only time
No.
I've got one example. Someone show me one. Nobody?
Yeah, but it only rises if it's actually behind a mountain range. Because if it's an actual flat horizon, it just phases in and out as soon as it touches it at the bottom. because it doesn't actually rise. That was the joke.
Well, okay, I
Let
got
me
that.
remind you of something.
Well, I just want to give the one example I got, which was a NASA example of, I think, I can't remember if it was a high altitude plane or claimed to be the ISS, but one or the other, with a picture of the moon rising above like a horizon comprised of clouds. So that's a moonrise shot that the legitimacy of which I don't know, but that's the only example I can think of where somebody showed me a moonrise at what I would call the horizon.
The clouds are not geometric. No, the difference is when they talk about a sunrise and a sunset, what most of them, and I mean 99% of them, don't know is officially that's known as the sun mirage. The moon doesn't have a moon mirage because it doesn't give off heat. It's actually cold, not hot. So the sun mirage is what gives the impression that something is setting down behind the physical horizon. So no, this moon doesn't do that. So we don't see the moon coming from up behind an horizon and going down behind the horizon. We don't see that because the moon doesn't create mirages because it doesn't give off heat. It gives off actually cold. It's provably cold with a magnifying glass. So no, that's why that doesn't happen.
But
Secondly,
more just to address the housekeeping question, though, if the Earth was a sphere with a radius of 3959, as stated in the Earth curve maths, then every distance to the horizon, which is claimed to be blocking the moon in this example, or the sun in this example, would be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, exactly as they state. But as 10th Man pointed out about 2 minutes ago, the black swan shows the horizon moves with the weather, and there are examples of what is claimed to be a geometric limitation massively in excess of where it should be blocking things. In this example, blocking oil rigs. It's not blocking them, it's behind them. So it's not a geometric limitation to anything. It's not Earth curve. The horizon isn't Earth curve. But let's move on with housekeeping.
No, you didn't leave me finish. I was trying to add in an epic point about the horizon.
Oh, go on.
Please leave me finish.
Go on then.
Right. The horizon is always refracted within their model of what they call 7/6, or which is not light refraction, right? It's not to do with light or temperature or densities of mediums, right? That it's always, that is based on a change in the physical, a mathematical change in the size of a mathematical change in the physical size of their globe, and it's always a standard of 7/6, or but it can increase from there depending on the observation and what they need to claim. Like with the black swan, where they claimed it was also basically infinite over 6R, which made the black swan, the radius of a globe with the black swan observation would be over 260,000 statute miles. So you could never be seeing the globe's geometric horizon because it's claimed officially to always be a 7/6R horizon, which makes the globe's radius at least 4,618 statute miles as opposed to 3,959 statute miles. They have to claim that the globe has a radius of 3,959 statute miles. So in diagrams, they can show you how Polaris works, right, fraudulently. But when it comes to reality, there is never a time that there isn't at least a standard of 7/6, or what they call standard refraction, which is not refraction of light. It's also known as terrestrial refraction, right? Which is 7/6, or same thing, which is a change in their terra firma, the size of their terra firma. The standard is 7/6, or.
Can I ask you a question?
Well, this is interesting because they've swindled.
1 second, you missed the crescendo. Horizon officially cannot be geometric.
Yes, that's correct. But they've duped people into believing that the light refraction is actually what's being discussed when they talk about 7/6R, to the point where people like Craig will tell you that the hand in front of your face isn't where you think it is to a certain degree because the light's bending at a rate of 7/6R. Well, 7/6R isn't light doing anything, because Brian's pointing out it's an inflation of the radial value to make the sphere slightly larger. Right? And he takes up the radius from 3959 to 40, whatever it was. Right, it just makes it a little bit bigger. That's all it does.
Good morning, guys.
the point is that it's never matching 3959 at any point. They always have to give it at least a 4,618 statute mile radius. So
right,
it's never.
But what you're
ever
detailing is a
within
geometric change mathematically, as you've already detailed. You're like, the reification of their model has a physical change derived from this mathematics. But then when you go on to discuss it, you're talking about the change in R value at 7/6 of the radius that they state at 3959. What's that got to do with light again? Oh, well, nothing. We're just changing the radius of the sphere Earth, we presuppose, when we reify it into a physical geometric shape that blocks things in the distance, even when it doesn't. So when it doesn't tally up with what we see in our lenses and cameras, we'll say that the ground has grown slightly at this rate, and we'll call that what light does around the bending sphere. So you think your hand isn't very...
Listen, sorry, John, one quickly. You know the way when the ballers say, well, there's never a day without atmosphere. You know the way they say that? What that's actually stating there, what most of them don't realize, is there's never a day that the globe is not said to have a radius of 4,618 statute miles. Because there has never been an observation in history, ever, with the exception of fog or something, where the horizon matched where it would be on a globe as per with a radius of 3,959 miles, right, as per the observer's elevation height. There has never been, and that's why they always, as a standard refraction, always have to claim that there's at least 7/6R at play all the time.
Right, but it's a massive hoodwink. It's a massive hoodwink because this description that Brian's just gave included and was limited to a description of an increase of a radial value from a base of 3959. That's what it only describes. That's all it is. However, when he then goes on to describe fog, he's giving the ballers their juxtaposition with what actually changes a radial value to something that's got anything to do with atmosphere, which is sphere-shaped air wrapped around a sphere-shaped Earth. Well, there isn't any such thing as sphere-shaped air, and because atmospheric refraction, in name only, is the title that's given to this increase of a radial value of a presupposed spherical Earth, people automatically say that's what the light's doing because it's sphere-shaped. We've always got sphere-shaped air, we've always got atmosphere. No, we've never got sphere-shaped air. Air doesn't take the shape of a sphere. And what you're saying is sphere-shaped air with refractive effects, in name only, arbitrarily assigned to 7/6 of a radius or any derivation of the radius you see fit. That's all it is. It's sod all to do with light. And we haven't got atmosphere. It's an oxymoron. Air isn't sphere-shaped. But that's what they think it is when they talk about this effect. They think it's something to do with the light in the air.
Well, you got to forgive them because they are doing these mathematics below surface level. So the horizon that they're talking about, geometric or refracted, either one, in their mathematics exists below surface level.
No, the refracted horizon.
We will get to that. Well, sorry, I think that's the point to talk about the 1-2 punch, right? That's a segue. Let's. We've only had one housekeeping question. We're already, what is it? 15
can I add
minutes.
something?
You can, but you don't know where the 1-2 punch is coming from, so you might get knocked out in the process. But go ahead.
Well, no, it's just to reiterate what Brian's saying, because I'm loving this point that he's trying to reiterate, because something I've been saying for a while too, like, it's that okie doke, right? Putting the radius of the Earth into an equation and changing it, how does that actually prove the radius that is supposed to be salvaged? And it's devastating to them, because I used to think, wait a minute, well, when they put the 7/6R, that R is the radius of the Earth, physically measured radius of the Earth. So to change that, you're going to put it into an equation to prove it? It never made any sense to me. And it's like a really, really slick okie doke. And I think it's something that we should point out very, very, the way that we're doing it right now. It's a great point.
Right. Anthony was doing it not because I'm trying to make fun of Brian by saying Anthony did it 2 weeks ago, but he did it with Mick West. Here's your calculation. Here's how we're being told in your maths we should always be looking at the refracted value without exception. Because everything's always refracted, we've always got sphere-shaped air, aka atmosphere, and we in name only call 7/6R atmospheric refraction. So Anthony called him out. Well, show us in the maths where this has anything to do with refraction, where it has anything to do with light, and it doesn't. It's only 7/6 of a radius. That's all it's doing. It's changing the radius. So it hasn't got anything to do with light. And when called out on it, Mick West took him to sites that talked about actual refraction, effects on flat planes being measured, and showed him examples of fish tanks with flat planes in them. It's like this has nothing to do with an R value at 7/6 or any other value that you derive from it. It's not light bending, but they've just named it atmospheric refraction while they changed the rate of the radius. And Chocolate saying, ironically, to prove the radius, that's how you prove it. We're looking at a radius-based geometric horizon in the way, but it's not in the way it's supposed to be in the way geometrically, so we're going to bend the light at the rate of the radius that we're trying to prove with this observation. You're like, what? God, how is this? Most people tune out. We got lost in it. We got totally snared by the Earth curve calculator, Chocolate. We were there for months. Great little fly trap.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to see,
it was more. Sorry, John. Go ahead, brother.
I was going to say, well, if you want to see those horizons, you have to be able to see below surface level.
Right, which is an excellent segue.
No
Perfect.
problem.
Let's get back to this. So this is the bottom line. Something we never saw in the Earth curve calculator. Go on, whoever that is, who's desperate to talk through every word as well. Go on.
No, you're missing what they do. Whatever distance the horizon is from an observer's elevation, that is the amount of change in size the globe has. So they always give it a 7/6R as a standard because they know, without a doubt, we will never see an horizon that will match their 3959. So as a standard, they will give at least a 7/6R, 4,618 mile radius, right? But they will change that. That is the starting point. That's like 14.7 psi. That is the starting point. They will think of a tire. It already has 14.7 psi in it. They will then inflate that tire to whatever size they need to inflate it as per the observation. So they always will have a 7/6R, and right when the horizon just happens to be, due to weather or whatever, close to you, they'll claim 7/6R. But when it's in the black swan, they'll claim observation, they'll claim infinite over 6R, because they need to inflate that globe to whatever size they need it to be to match the observation.
Yeah, but it doesn't. Even their description doesn't match the observation. You've said it twice now, so I'm going to have to step in and make this mild correction. It's nothing in terms of you being incorrect. You aren't. But they are incorrect when they use that as an excuse, and I want to explain why. So if we step into their paradigm and assume, as they describe it, that 7/6R increasing the rate of the radius, or infinite over 6R in this instance, increasing the rate of the radius by an infinite value to put the horizon behind the thing that suddenly isn't refracted. So what, the oil rigs stay where they are, but the horizon refracts? Doesn't make any sense. If they're going to claim that it's infinite over 6R refraction, all that would happen is everything, including the physical obstruction, it's all physical. Do you know what I mean? Because in the same way, the back of the oil rig can't be seen because it's blocked by the front of it. That's how things that are physical work. Doesn't matter how much refraction it is, you're never going to see the back of the oil rig. The front of it's in the way. And the hill's in the way of that if it's Earth curve. So if they're claiming it's infinite over our refraction, it just pushes all of it, everything, all of it, including the obstruction. It doesn't just push the obstruction behind the thing. It's like saying, well, the refraction means I can see the back of the oil rig now. No, it's blocked by the walls at the front of the oil rig. So suddenly what? The refraction has moved the wall at the front of the oil rig behind itself so we can see the people inside eating? No. And if there's a physical wall called Earth curve in the way of the oil rig and you're claiming it's all refracted, then it's all refracted in the same manner. It doesn't push a horizon behind things, and it doesn't push walls behind themselves. And that's what Earth curves claim to be, a bloody wall in the way. So how is this wall suddenly hopping behind the thing it's refracting? No, you don't have it both ways, my friends. Even in your nonsense explanation, it doesn't suddenly push the blockage behind the thing it blocks, because otherwise you can have walls moving behind the thing that they're blocking. It's absurd. So their explanation doesn't even tally.
Hold on, because y'all mentioned their descriptions with mathematics, but those descriptions come from the use of surface level and eye level.
Third try to get there. And perfect. Let's do it. Right, this is the 1-2 punch. Been trying, but Brian stopped us the second time. Anybody else got anything to add? Bloody moon horizons and 7/6R. Right, we're there. This is the segue. So, John managed to take them down with this point that we got completely blindsided by. We didn't even spot it when we were arguing about the Earth curve calculator. Marked in the Earth curve calculator is surface level. You've got eye level, surface level. They're parallel with each other, moving away from left to right on the page with a perfectly horizontal, dotted and fixed straight line, representing surface and eye level. Now, the differential in the mathematics between these two is what gives you your Earth curve. And below surface level means that you've got a surface level to observe this claim to be geometric, never to be observed, always refracted horizon below the surface level that's actually used for measurements in all instances. Now, I want John, hopefully now, to, with a bit of build-up, because this is what we discussed in the pre-show and why the show's got the title it has, use this as the number 1 of 1-2 punch to explain how this undid McToon and Ruhif. Over to you, John.
Well, you can let them have any idea of refraction they want, any size radius they want, but the differential is still established between two flat planes. So no matter how much they extend or expand their sphere, it will never be a flat plane. And that's what you need to take the measurements from.
I'm still waiting to find out how expanding your sphere actually proves the size that it was before you expanded it.
It doesn't.
Where does that work?
It doesn't. It paradoxically leaves them with no ability to measure the actual geometry, to base the R on, to bend the R at a rate of 7/6R. If you can never see, because of a claim of atmosphere, sphere-shaped air, that's actually just an increased size radius, then if you're always seeing an increased size radius, you can't get the original 3959 radius measurement ever in any circumstances to derive 7/6R, to increase the radius and claim it's light bending around a curved surface you can no longer measure. So it's a paradox. That's where it leaves them.
Right, which destroys their positive claim. And that's why the black swan is important, because they make a positive claim that the horizon is a physical geometric obstruction.
Right, that's Yoda Nathan would say on screen. Refraction? Geometry it is not.
I was going to say, that's why they have to reiterate continuously that it's refraction, so that they have the ability to change the radius and slip by with that okie doke, making people think, oh yeah, changing the radius actually is talking about an optical illusion.
But even that's a red herring, because them changing their radius still does not give them a flat plane.
Right. They're always going to be below surface level, because the differential between the surface level and the eye level is what gave them the R in reality, not a measurement from Al-Biruni's dip to a geometric horizon he can no longer see, because we'll never see the geometric horizon. The geometric horizon wouldn't expect to be seen. That's what we're told by people like A.B. Maths and Planar Walk, even Rumpus. The geometric horizon only exists in the maths. These are quotes. Well, this is people who have had to take it to the next logical step, which is to say that we can never see physical geometry. So all of the Earth curve maths assertions that they're proving the physical rate it will block something in the distance are bunk. Because, quote, we aren't expecting to see physical geometry, A.B. Maths. He calls himself A.B. Science. Or nobody's expecting to see the physical geometric horizon, Planar Walk. I think I'm paraphrasing slightly. And again, Rumpus, the geometric horizon only exists in the maths. That's Earth curve, marked with an X, label horizon, in there begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective, hijacking Earth curve calculator. That's their horizon. The one they said was blocking the boats and buildings when they told you to watch things go over the hill that's called Earth curve. Yeah, that only exists in maths. Can never be seen, can never be measured, can never be used to claim that you can derive an R value at 7/6 of the rate to call it refraction in sphere-shaped air. It's all nonsense. It's just a massive hoodwink.
Nathan, could a thought experiment block anything?
No, for sure.
Can math block anything?
No, it's conceptual only, descriptions and language. That's the one of the 1-2 punch. The two of the 2 punch is elevation angles and their acquisition necessitating a flat plane. But as it's John that's describing this 1-2 punch, as it's him who executed it, over to you again, John.
Well, Ruhif was using the celestial sphere model, which is a model created from flat Earth elevation angles, and they've hijacked that perspective and put into the celestial sphere model, which is still a model of a flat plane with a celestial dome, and then they've just taken another flat plane and glued it to the bottom and made their celestial sphere out of that.
That'd be two flat planes. So nothing spherical in their origins of their explanations, just 2 flat planes.
Right.
And to add to that, the celestial sphere model that the ancients used, because they say that's the same one and the same, the Earth is motionless and is the center, not the sun, and everything goes around the Earth. So they got several things wrong when they go to the celestial sphere model, because they're going to how it actually works, but then they get several things wrong because in their current model, the sun's the center and the Earth's orbiting, but in the celestial sphere model, the Earth is at the center and motionless, and the luminaries are moving. So it's a little bit more of a 2-punch than most people think.
Well, it's a knockout blow, which is why we won't necessarily put a top 3 together in this regard. We'll keep it as the 1-2 punch, because that's it. That's the end of globe Earth geometry, because it shows in no uncertain terms that the derivation of globe Earth geometry comes from a flat plane. The maps, the navigation, the methodology of measuring the stars all comes from a flat plane. And the model that they use and apply a Haversine formula to is a flat plane. So there's no two ways about what we're explaining to you. If you're listening for the first time and you're unfortunate enough to have stumbled on this show, that's what we're talking about. Every claim of a globe has its origins in a flat plane. And the navigation, with potentially a claim to be model of a globe Earth in between, will take a step from measuring a flat plane to a conversion to a spherical projection that has come from a map that was used, derived from elevation angles to Polaris on a flat plane. So your claim of a globe requires and utilizes the flat plane that we actually dwell atop. Earth is flat, and that is how your globe is comprised. If this is a revelation to anybody watching, that's why it's the 1-2 punch that is the devastation of the heliocentric model, because it relies on a flat plane, and the proof of the flat plane, because that's where all the models have come from.
Right. And the minute you try to curve that line that you would call surface level, sea level, your baseline, you can no longer acquire the measurements to create those models.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I've been waiting to get in here since you mentioned your debate with Ruhif. Ruhif used greater than 7/6R within his presentation at the start of the debate with John, as a way of trying to somewhat straighten out. I mean, and I reiterate the word somewhat, straighten out the surface between the observer and the horizon. So Ruhif used, not only did he use an extension of the globe's radius from its standard 7/6R, but he also used within his presentation a curved adjacent.
Yep. And that's when they argued, when I pointed that out to them, is when they tried to argue that curved lines can give you an angle.
Yeah, and from there they go on to claim that radius lines can be curved. That's the next one after that.
It's more than.
And the way they demonstrated, you could get curved angles from curved lines is by drawing straight lines to points on a curve and saying that is an angle. Those two straight lines.
Yeah, but what Ruhif did wasn't even create a tangent plane. He didn't create a tangent plane. If you look at his presentation, he used a greater than 7/6R to create a somewhat horizontal line between observer and horizon. So he wasn't even going all the way to the GP, just between the observer and the horizon.
I see what you're saying. What you're saying is, if you can get it flat enough, it looks like it's an angle, but fundamentally flawed. Because no matter how big you make that sphere and how close you get it with the second straight line, it's not a straight line meeting it. It's flawed. It would throw up an error if you tried to do it in any CAD program. It simply wouldn't work, and we have demonstrated that's the case. But the little swindling liar that's known as Ruhif decided to say that it is an angle. Oh, wow, that's intellectual dishonesty if ever I've seen it. What, it just kind of seems like an angle if you zoom in close enough, does it, Ruhif? But fundamentally isn't one. I'd call that intellectual dishonesty on Ruhif's part. But he's a scumbag, so what do you expect?
Well, yeah, he like, I mean, the fact that he didn't use a tangent plane says it all. Because he knew by using a tangent plane that John could just go, well, that's the end of that. You've just admitted that this process can't work over a curved surface. So he needed, but he gave the impression that he was. If you listen to the way he did his presentation, he was given the impression that he wasn't using a greater than 7/6R, but also, so the baller, he knew the ballers knew what he was saying, but he was trying to give John the impression, and anyone on the flat earth side, that he wasn't using that. He was just dealing with a horizontal. But it wasn't. He was using a greater than 7/6R.
Well, that's why we went to a neutral platform, Brian, so that he could have 25 minutes to talk. And I got less than a sentence out.
It's only reasonable on a neutral platform that it gets a 25-minute presentation backed up by the moderator and then you get interrupted immediately. I think that's only reasonable. That's why they want us on neutral platforms.
Absolutely. That's the only way to handle this topic, because they obviously have truth on their side. Why would they need to silence us?
Why would they need to put your words 25 minutes into any presentation? Why not have you come up immediately and present what you've got, like we do? If there was a baller on the panel now, I'd shush you lot up immediately. There'd be airwaves cleared so we could hear their claim in its entirety. If it was interrupted, it would be started again, wouldn't it? That's how we do things here. Of course, when they start rumpusing the crap out of our rebuttal immediately, that gets shut down. Of course, they don't like that and feel that they need a neutral platform when it happens. Meanwhile, the 1-2 punch can be delivered anywhere. Yeah? Obviously, you've got to get a break in the airwaves like now. You know, you can have fundies interrupting you like whoever's doing it to me on the G Plus panel. You just got to wait for your interruption-free air, and then you deliver the 1-2 punch. You'll need a flat plane for that. All your maps and models were derived from it. Check it out, you're using an elevation angle. Yeah, and even if you try and infinitely over 6R your way out of it, intellectually dishonest Ruhif, you're still going to need a flat plane. Of course, if you say that you're just using the curved surface and it's good enough for an angle, then that's definitely intellectual dishonesty if you claim to be mathematically literate, which Ruhif says he is. So definitely dishonest. Just another lying shit in a long line of people who are fearful of the fact their religion's wrong. Hey, Rufy, that's why you're here, eh? That's why you remember. Because you're scared. Like all of you. That's why we need shoving down the list. We terrify you. All of the anti-flat earthers who are stuck down here in the pits of hell with us, they're all terrified. Figured it out over the weekend. I was thinking about it with a nice clear head with a computer that doesn't break. They're all scared. That's what they're doing. They're looking for their own affirmation of how right they were. Whenever anything comes up that might persuade themselves, otherwise, they convince themselves that they're dissuading others from hearing the terrible inconsistencies and inaccuracies of flat earthers. No, it's just suppression. Why? Well, through fear. That's what it is. They're scared they might be wrong. That's all this is.
Well, if Ruhif knew, now, I don't have any personal issue with Ruhif, right? As a person, I know he's a liar and all that, but I know what I'm dealing with him, right? But if he knew that he was using greater than 7/6R to say he's taking those angles that were in his presentation, then he knew he was using a curved adjacent, and he knows curved adjacents do not exist when it comes to an angle or anything else. He knows this. So he had to lie to himself. Go on, Chaplin.
Did anybody ask Ruhif why you're changing the size of your ball to prove the size of the ball?
They didn't allow that longer. Like, I got one complaint out about, well, it wasn't even a complaint. I got one statement out, and that was the end of coherent, rational conversation.
Shout out to Chris Berry. He says, evidence for R, it comes after Q and before S. We haven't even got to that housekeeping question yet. But thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate it.
Oh, one more thing before we do. I was going to say, when they claim refraction, the problem of getting an angle from a curved baseline transposes over to you can't get an angle to a curved surface now because you've refracted that line, supposedly, even though you're changing the curved surface and not that line.
Right, your line, your measurement itself is then bent also, right? So what's going to be claimed to be a tangent? How's that geometric horizon working out for you? Oh, you haven't got one? No straight lines ever?
You're curving the straight line that you're telling us you don't need because you can get angles off a spherical surface. But even the straight line that you need, you're bending that too.
Yeah, it's got a bent line at 7/6R around a bent surface at a spherical rate based on R that he assumes. And that's an angle. You know, why not? I mean, why not?
You know the diagram you had up there earlier, Nathan? I didn't want to butt in because John, I think, or Chocolate was talking. But you had a diagram.
The one with the donkey.
Which, yeah, with a bent, like an observer with a bent view, right? A bent view going around a sphere, right? Now, they don't calculate what they calculate based off of that. They calculate what they calculate based off of a direct, straight line of sight between an observer and an horizon. So what they do is they change, right? They basically, I'm going to show it in a minute. I'll do it up on GeoGebra. They change the length of that person's straight line view to the horizon. They change that by moving back the horizon, right? So they basically make a more shallow angle, basically, is what they're doing. But they change that by moving when they move the horizon back, and then they just add a globe to that. That's all they do. That's basically what they're doing, because in reality, you do not see any curve between you and that horizon. There's no curve to be seen ever, right? So when they move back a person's straight line of sight, it's basically just an extension of a depression angle. That's all it is. Just like John has said before, where it's just the eye line is a horizontal and the sea level is another horizontal, and they're just two parallels with an angle between them at the horizon, between the observer and the horizon. All they're doing is extending that line back. That's all they're doing. There is no curve around a globe because it's not light refraction. It's about the observer's straight line of sight to an horizon, and that's what it is. And they move it to whatever direction they need to move it to, and then they just add a globe to that. Right. But it's always 7/6. It's never not 7/6, as they have claimed, Nathan, to you and us for a couple of years now. Well, there's never no atmosphere. Right, what they're basically stating, without realizing it, most of them, because they don't know their own model, is that there is never a time when their model is not 7/6R. So it's impossible to ever see an horizon, with the exception of a fog or something, an horizon for an observer that would match 3959 radius. That never happens. And that's when they say standard refraction, that means they're always giving it a standard of 7/6R. And it increases from there, but it never decreases from 7/6R, because that never happens for the observer.
Well, you would expect to see the geometric horizon, right?
Nobody's expecting to see the geometric horizon.
Yes, including them.
Until
so you're
we want
saying that.
Go on, John.
You're saying that what they call refraction is just their physical obstruction growing.
Yeah, an increased rate of the radius.
Basically.
Just increasing the radius means just increasing the size of the sphere. That's all it is. Right? But when they depict it on pictures like this from Andrew Thomas Young, you've got the point from O to H as what we labelled the donkey dick horizon, the bent line of sight. Well, I mean, this bent a line of sight over a bent surface. That's two bent lines, right? Oh, that's an angle. What?
Increasing the size of the sphere to prove the size of the sphere.
Yeah, man.
Well,
that you increased it from.
Right, shroom. They're on shrooms.
People need to really understand that that's what they're doing. It's a trick. It's an okie doke that they're pulling on you the minute they say refraction. That's why they harp so hard on it.
Right, but that line S to H, no matter how big you make the radius from C to S or C to H, no matter how big that gets, that line will never be straight. But
exactly. They're screwed. The fundamental principles of how we navigate and how we measure the Earth don't comport with the sphere Earth. That is the bottom line. Yeah, so in summary, you've got the 1-2 punch. This is what it is. In essence, you cannot get an elevation angle measurement from a curved surface. And elevation angle measurements were used to derive the maps and models that they then turned into a sphere. So we've got flat Earth being measured, flat Earth being modelled, flat Earth being mapped. And then they claim that in the in-between process, they've stuck a sphere projection in between that we don't use on the map and we didn't derive from when we measured angles to the stars. So every single claim to be a globe proof will always start with a derivation from a flat plane. John, it's your point. Do you want to add anything to the summary?
Well, that's when they add in the assumption it's a sphere after they measure the flat plane.
Yeah, you've got to measure a flat plane first.
It's more than a 1-2 punch. It's more like a 2-piece and a biscuit.
Okay.
No, the biscuit would be gas pressure without a container.
Oh, you got there before me. I was just about to. Perfect timing.
That's what I'm saying, bro.
Hold on, that's the perfect timing, right? So I wanted to keep that separate, and we have. That's why I gave it such a concise summary and asked you to do the same. Because separately to that 1-2 punch, which is very much based in mathematics in terms of physical measurements of their claimed mathematics and how they debunked and proved we're on a non-spherical surface, i.e. flat plane, because of how it's measured and how it's mapped. Now that is self-contained within elevation angle measurement argument and black swan argument. Those are the two. So if you want to summarize it as a which is the one and which is the two, well, the two are black swan. If the Earth was a sphere radius 3959, then every distance to horizon measurement could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, and the black swan shows the geometric claim to be horizon beyond its geometric limitations. It's no longer a hill in the way. The horizon's not Earth curve. That's punch one. You haven't got a physical geometric horizon to claim geometry with. We've debunked it. Point two. Every single claim to be globe proof will have been taken from measurements off a flat plane. Maps and models made from a flat plane, then transposed onto a sphere, to then be projected back onto a flat map. That's your 1-2 punch. Separate from that, summarised twice, we have the dentist drill of flat earth arguments, which is to say it's exceptionally good at what it does, but it's really limited in terms of its ability to expand. No pun intended. And that I'll ask by way of the housekeeping question. So any evidence you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
Even if it was a sphere, you would still need a container.
No evidence. And can I say something? That's the fundamentals of boxing. 1-2 punch, then they teach you how to get in there with the uppercut. And that's what we have. Black Swan, elevation angle, uppercut.
Right, you got to deliver a couple of jabs first.
It's the uppercut.
Yes.
Sorry, mate.
No, so you're right. You're right. We're all enthusiastic in the same way. We're saying that this is the uppercut, but this is an uppercut you can deliver, leave someone dazed and confused, and walk off. You know, it can stand alone.
Yeah, it's the gas pressure without a container is the easiest argument to understand because you experience gas pressure every day. You don't deal with geometry every day.
Right.
Facts.
So you nod up to the sky and say, "You reckon that's a vacuum, do you?" I'm thinking not. It's a violation of the second law of thermodynamics. If the sky was a vacuum, then the gas we breathe would fill that space. It's called entropy. Gas expands to fill volume. Space, outer space, is claimed to be a massive volume for gas to fill. And that's all gas would want to do. It would want to expand out into that area of space. And what do you know? Space is a space. So, yeah, entropy law. We'd be dead. We wouldn't have any gas to breathe.
Weren't we talking last week about why people are not using these arguments? Get into the fundamentals of the fight, people.
Well, you know, the rebuttal that you hear to gas pressure without a container is gas pressure gradient, but that's a red herring. And I don't even know if they realize why.
Or here's this container. Now let's talk about how you don't need a container in order to have gas pressure. It's one or the other.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about that. Let's just talk about how we have a gas pressure gradient in which, hello, you need gas pressure in the first place, or we're just going to say, nah, we don't need that. We don't need to talk about that because we have a container. But let me tell you how we don't need one. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, if you're really lucky, you'll get somebody that's partially knowledgeable on the subject jumping between the word system and container and trying to get you in a gotcha.
I like the first one that Chocolate came up with. Let me show you how you can have gas pressure without a container in a container.
Yep, definitely. We definitely heard that. That was one of the guys that came here for the Bitcoin. He was just like, yeah, of course you need a container for gas pressure, but let's talk about here and how you don't need that. Okay. That's not going to work very well for you.
So, yeah.
Just by saying gas pressure gradient, you're admitting there's a gas pressure there, which needs a container.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, QE phrased it the best. You've got a delta of the original claim. So how can you have a gas pressure gradient without a container? Oh, right, you're just going to ignore that your gas pressure gradient requires containment and ask how I can achieve a gas pressure gradient on a flat Earth or something. It's like, it's a complete red herring. It's a delta of the gas pressure I'm asking about. I'm saying to have gas pressure, we must have containment. There is no other way to achieve gas pressure. Contrary to that, in fact, the complete contrapositive would be to have an area available to the gas for it to fill. Like outer space. Because the gas would fill it. It's a law of nature.
By analogy, their argument would be, you claim that dogs exist, and they show you a chihuahua and ask you to explain it.
Exactly. It's a delta of the dog. Do dogs exist? Yeah, they do. But I don't need to explain that if I ask you to explain how this chihuahua exists on a flat Earth.
I think the greatest part is that they think that this gas pressure exists with no container in the middle of a vacuum, while this ball that this gas pressure supposedly exists around is moving at 66,000 miles per hour around another gas ball in a vacuum, in the same vacuum. Right. I mean, serious?
Neil deGrasse talks about that. He says there's gas clouds in outer space.
Well, that'll bring us into a housekeeping question of gravity, right?
Well, they do claim that there's a not actual force that you can think of as a force that pulls things down, go boom, boom like gas. Even though gas expands in all directions to fill the availability of volume it has. and gravity, as they describe it, isn't a force. Oh, that reminds me. Raichi00000 put out a video about a channel that's relatively new who's unfortunately going to, by consequence, get plugged in this regard. In fact, no, he won't. I just won't mention who it was. But you can go and check out who he was, and I end up by default seeing who he is because Raichi covers this video specifically in the most humiliating manner. Oh, it was so delicious, Raichi. I really enjoyed watching your video of some clown telling flat earthers how wrong they are when we see gravity's not a force, and then going to some wiki entry that says you can't think of it as a force, but it isn't a force, but that doesn't mean it isn't really a force, because I say that if you say something isn't something, but it is because it is something else, that means that gravity is technically a force. Roll on Raichi playing clip after clip after clip after clip of people telling him it isn't, and how it isn't, and why it isn't. You clown! So Raichi, kudos. Go and subscribe today to Raichi 50000000. So check her out, and she is very, very good at being so civil in the way she does it. She doesn't ad hom him. She doesn't demean the guy. She just points out how stupid he is, and he is. It's like gravity is not a force. It hasn't been for 107 years. It's the not actual force that you can think of as a force, according to George Musa, but that doesn't change the fact that bending space-time isn't something that happens in our physical reality. It's something that happens in a conceptual fourth-dimensional bending of space-time derived in the mind's eye of Einstein. Certainly not physics, definitely maths, definitely inconsequential to my physical reality, definitely not a force, as much as you want it to hold gas pressure here, right? So, any scientific evidence of gravity?
Did you say we can't use...
Go on, John. Did you say we can't use what?
Did you say we can't use a conceptual medium that runs counter to space?
You can do whatever you want conceptually, but it won't affect my physical reality in any way, shape, or form, if that's what you're asking. Is that what you're asking?
I have an observation of a helium balloon going up. Does that prove gravity?
No, because that doesn't comport with gravity. Gas go down, go boom, boom. What's your problem?
Oh, well, that's terrible because
No,
the helium balloon's filled with gas. So is that like some more of the rebellious gas particles that don't want to act the way gas acts?
I have scientific evidence that gravity as a force definitely can't exist, that I can show and demonstrate at any point. Objects weigh more in a vacuum. They couldn't and cannot weigh more in a vacuum if gravity existed and it was a force. They would have to weigh less. Objects weigh more in a vacuum, and they weigh more at higher altitudes, regardless of the lies people are told. So gravity as a force, scientifically, from a physics point of view, cannot exist due to that fact.
Gravity being a force of masses attracting, basically they're saying that all things are I mean, because it would be like magnets, right? Everything would have some degree of attraction to another. I don't see how they got around that.
Well, the biggest mass would be the biggest attractor. That's it. It'd be like the biggest magnet would be the biggest attractor, that kind of thing. That's why everything's supposed to go down, go boom, boom towards the Earth within gravity as a force. But that's not current gravity, but current claim of gravity.
Did we clear this up? Does gas go down, go boom, boom?
No.
No.
That's what I was going to say to Brian is you've disproven a downward bias, not necessarily gravity. That's just a name that heliocentrists give it, right?
Well, I didn't prove a downward bias.
What downward bias? Excuse me? We have a downward bias? Is that so? What about things that go up? That doesn't sound right.
No, I said he disproved that there is a downward.
My bad. I misheard you. Sorry. Go ahead, Brian.
Well, currently, gravity is only an apparent effect within Einstein's general relativity. Apparent effect. And he describes this within his equivalence principle, something that the majority of heliocentric believers seem to not want to or not be able to learn about and understand. It's an apparent effect. Within his equivalence principle, the claim is that the globe Earth is always expanding, right, in size. We're back to expanding globes again, expanding in size, right? So when you drop your phone, it doesn't drop. It holds in free space, and the ground comes up to meet it. But why the globe is not getting bigger, right, back to contradiction, is because space and time are curving in around it as a kind of a subduing force. So it can't grow bigger because space and time are stopping it from growing bigger. But it's always trying to grow bigger like logically, then according to that, there is no way for the ground to be coming up to meet the object that's in free space because space and time is stopping it doing that. But yet it's claimed to do that. So if me and Chocolate both dropped our phones or let go of our phones right now across, held our arms out from our shoulders and both at the same time let go of our phones, according to Einstein, the ground the chocolate is standing on and the ground I'm standing on is expanding up to meet the phone. Right? But the get around of that is that space and time is coming in around it, stopping the ground from doing that. So he's basically pointing out that what he's saying is not happening and it's all rubbish.
Brian. Hey, Brian, maybe that's the only time that you can actually calculate it. Then you're always extending. So that's time when gravity needs to take effect. So everybody should just drop something at the same time, and therefore you can calculate your refraction, which is 7.
You're breaking up. It would have been hysterical. It would have been great. You're breaking up a little bit. Go ahead, Adam.
Just a quick question for Brian. So, say I drop my phone, and remember on a supposed ball here, and Mitchell from Australia drops his phone at the same time. Which way does the Earth move?
The ground for both of you comes up to meet the phone.
No. That's not correct.
Yeah, that is equivalence principle. Einstein's equivalence
if we accept that time moves things.
No, the claim is that the claim is the anti-force to that is that space and time is always curving inward onto the ball, stopping the Earth from growing.
My bad. So time bends, does it? Time does that.
Space, yeah.
No.
Yeah, the concept known as time and the description known as space come together and as joint forces to bend in around the globe to stop the globe becoming bigger. Which is a contradiction to what Adam just asked, which would state that both the ground underneath Mitchell and underneath Adam would have to be coming up to meet the phone simultaneously.
No,
so
time doesn't do that.
How can the ground do that if space and time?
How can the ground do that? How can time do that to the ground? Forget about the ground doesn't do that. Time can't do it. Okay. Anybody else?
I'm just a messenger.
Yeah, I know the feeling. Anybody else got anything to add on the knockout punch or on gas pressure without a container?
Well, I was just going to point out that in both Einstein and Newtonian, there's a claimed mass of Earth, which would you'd have to define mass, and then you'd have to give a measurement, including the volume of Earth.
Well, I don't know if the bending and warping of space-time stops the Earth from growing, but I do know that space and time makes the heart grow fonder.
Oh, what a sweet sentiment. That's very nice. Beautiful way to end the show. So with that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then... Oh, have I not managed to unmute you guys? Clearly not. Let's do that now. Stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
what a name! What a lovely name!
This is how dumb society is, because the media is operating off of literally a straw man that they don't even make clear to take away his endorsements.
Talking about with Kyrie?
Yeah. Straw man meaning it, like, how you gonna okay, when you do label someone a name, well, define what you mean. You know what I'm saying? Like, because all he said was, hey, consider me this. How is that being anti that?
You got to look at the movie he was talking about. That's why.
Yeah, it's talking about us being that. What's wrong with that?
Also, that a certain thing didn't happen.
That's not what the movie said. That's the straw man right there. You got it, Neil.
Yeah, I don't know, but I've seen it. That's what they're saying in the media.
No, that's my point. That's what the straw man is. That when you label somebody that name, people think that you're a denier of that. What the fuck is that about?
Control.
Anyway, back to flat Earth.
That is part of the word magic, isn't it? The logical fallacies that we have to dig our way through every day. It's the word magic.
Oh, this doesn't mean this. It means whatever the hell I say it means.
Yeah, like Neil deGrasse Tyson on that video I posted, talking to Channel 4 news guy. Whatever he said was law.
What did he say?
Oh, a whole bunch of stuff. It's in Ballbusters. You can check it out. 4-minute video. He explains everything. Everything that the James Webb telescope put forth, he breaks it all down.
But just back to the words, though, because when you change the meaning of one word, every word that has that word in its definition is also changed. So, like, you cause a problem in language itself when you start redefining terms. Like, there can be no meeting of the minds at that point. It just causes confusion. And that's what they want.
That's the whole thing. Because the topic turns into, oh, if this person did this, then they wouldn't be in trouble. How come this company isn't for the? Instead of everyone saying, wait a minute, isn't that a logical fallacy? You see what I'm saying? Like, that's what I mean by this place is run by. The part of the brainwashing, matter of fact, the foundational glue of everything that's happening right now is getting people to accept fallacious reasoning. Because how could the media do this and cause confusion if people thought, oh wait, time out, but what's the premise? Oh wait. Isn't that a straw man? Like, wait. When did he say that? Oh, we can all stop tweeting about it for 20 hours now. Or 40, however long. No, it's just fucking crazy, because the things that the media does, right? It should, in a sense, not elicit a response, because people should hear it, go, that's logically fallacious, and then go on about their day. But they react based on what the media spin is, instead of addressing the fallacy itself. So they go along this line of it's like whistling past the graveyard.
That's correct, Eli. That is correct.
How the hell are you? Wait till the show is over.
Well, that's kind of what we were talking about when the gas pressure gradient response is given, the red herring that is, like, you know, it's like just whistling past the graveyard, like you said. It's just ignoring the point where your argument dies and then carrying on as if you have a legitimate point to make.
Like this could be a teachable moment for the populace. It, but you know, I don't hold out hope because those that know, you know.
No, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly, and that's how you know.
And if you don't know, now you know.
It's Biggie was a genius. See what I'm saying?
That's a fact.
If only hearing was understanding, we'd have a different world.
Hold on a second, but I like this 1-2 punch thing, man. This is the fundamentals of fighting. Learn this argument, get in there with the 1-2 punch, come with the uppercut. You don't want to get involved in the 1-2 punch, then throw a straight gas pressure without a container, uppercut, knockout.
So it starts out with a couple of jabs. Where's the curve? Where's the curve? Where's the curve? It's the horizon. Oh yeah, 2-piece. Oh,
Eli,
what about
biscuit?
Damn, Neil, shut up.
Sorry,
I got to start over. So where's the curve jab? Where's the curve jab? The horizon, 2-piece. Oh, space uppercut. It's like
trying to tell you what the curve is. The curve is the hook.
That's the biscuit right there.
Well, a lot of the problem is most flat earthers just want to jab them until they can't jab no more, you know?
That's tiring.
That's how I would describe most conversations I hear between flat earthers and globalists. It's tiring.
And I'm sorry, Eli, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm driving. My muffler sucks. I can't hear. So what I should do is not even go off mute when I'm driving. But I'm trying to tell you, the curve is the hook.
So what's the jab?
You bring the curve up. What could the hook shot be? I don't know. Let's say, what's one of our housekeeping questions? Ending gravity.
Yeah, that's a good hook.
Yo, yo.
Hiya.
Speaking about ending gravity.
Oh, man. Yeah, I just remembered listening to your voice. We needed you like 2 weeks ago, and I don't even remember for what. Does anybody else know? Wasn't it like some lawyer stuff?
Oh, I don't know. Oh, it was to do with the canals, wasn't it? And the old legislation.
Yes, it was.
Yes.
Okay, so I've looked into this before, right? And the comprehensive library, the electronic database that I use, is comprehensive when it's relatively recent. Stuff that's really old, it doesn't guarantee that it's on there. So when I've looked at it electronically, I'm not able to ascertain whether it did exist or not. So I've got to go back to the old-fashioned way of doing it, but I don't have a membership into a law library anymore. So it's like I'm not able to check it. And because I can't check it, I wouldn't cite it, because unless you know that it's true, that legislation did exist, then you can't really claim that it, because I can't prove that it did or didn't.
Okay.
It's a bit dodgy. I mean, but on a different note, is chocolate about?
Appeal to somebody that might have access to a law library. What you need is a reference library for law books, right? To go back and check it in the books. Well, if you haven't got access, you haven't got access. But someone might.
Yeah, I need to find that someone, though. It's not that easy. But Chocolate, I saw your comments asking whether or not that was Ranty on that video. And I watched a short video of Ranty explaining how it is that the sun warms up the earth. Has anybody seen the video that I'm referring to?
Oh, I didn't ask if that was Ranty. I know that's Ranty. I just posted it like, what the hell is this? But I know who it was. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but has anybody watched
yeah.
it?
Ranty the homeless man?
No, not that one. It was to do with how the sun warms up the earth.
I didn't watch the video. No, I didn't watch it.
You should watch it, right? You know, when you hear a child who's clearly not got the vocabulary that he's presenting to you when he explains something, and you look at the kid and you think you're copying the words that you've heard your mum and dad say, in the sense that you don't have the vocabulary to use those words in context and know what they mean because you're not old enough. The exact same thing is with Ranty on that video that he's done. Somebody's feeding him because Ranty's using phraseology that he doesn't use. And I'm listening to it thinking, I can just hear cats talking. Even though I see Ranty and I hear Ranty, in my head, it's being converted into a sine wave that's cat's voice. Even though I'm watching Ranty talking, it's absolutely amazing to see a brilliant example of how somebody's spitting back words that are not in his vocabulary.
That's why I laughed when I saw somebody sent that to me. I was like, "Did you see this?" And I was just like, "What the hell is this crap?" And then I see who it was and what he was talking about. I was just like, "Really, really?" All right.
I only listened to it because I saw Chocolate mention, like, say, "Is that Ranty?" And I thought that looks like Ranty. And then I started listening to it, and I listened to how he was talking, and I just thought, "My God, it's awful."
Okay, aside from his vocabulary sounding cats-esque, what was his claim, or wasn't the one?
No, there was a flat earther saying something like, "How does the heat from the sun travel to Earth and warm the Earth if the vacuum isn't a medium that can conduct heat?" And Ranty's there spinning off a typical ball earther explanation for it, including like words like photons and kinetic energy and all this kind of phraseology, and it's just cat's language. But I mean, he does answer it, but he does it in a way that's so foreign to Ranty. Not so much the answer; it's not the answer that's interesting. It's just the way he presents the answer, because he's trying to do it with the intelligent perspective rather than the colloquial perspective that we're used to, and it's just blatantly obvious that he's being fed.
Well, that's what I was about to say. Is he's speaking phonetically, right? Just terms that he is repeating as an answer to a question. So, you know, I think we covered that, like if someone's lying or not. So he's not got the capacity to be lying because he's speaking phonetically. He has no idea of what he's saying.
What do you mean by speaking phonetically? Because as I understand phonetically, it would be to over-enunciate the word that you used in this context. Is that what you mean?
No, it means like when a child hears an answer from their parents, they don't understand the answer, but they repeat it anyway.
Yeah. He's using vocabulary that's not innate to him. Like Ranty speaks colloquially like most of us do. He doesn't speak in a scientific prose, but the way that he's presenting his answer back to this flat earther and claims that it's a debunking is very much in a scientific prose. And when you listen to Ranty talking in that scientific prose, it's just so foreign. It's like, it's so obvious to us that that's not Ranty talking, it's somebody else talking, even though it's his voice and it's his body speaking. You can hear somebody else.
I got all that. But he's claiming that heat traverses a sky vacuum. So is this prefaced on there being a sky vacuum, or did he prove that there could be a sky vacuum?
No, what he said was the sky is essentially a vacuum, but it's the
hold on. He just said it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. He said
he doesn't prove that the vacuum space exists. He just talks about how this flat earther is wrong and how the heat comes from the sun through the vacuum of space to the earth.
It's probably worth covering, but maybe not on a live show, maybe afterwards. But it's just the way he speaks makes me just great.
We are covering it. That's what we're doing right now.
Maybe you should play it. It's not long, Nathan. If you want, I can
it's
find
only like
it.
30 seconds.
Where is
and
it?
It's all on topic.
Which chat is it in?
That's begging the question. Right?
Which chat is it in?
It's not just go to Flare Perspective. That's what I always do. Type in Flare Perspective.
Has it really come to the point that they are so scared to come and debate us, or well, Nathan, that they're so scared to come and debate Nathan that we're having to play audio clips from other channels to respond to them?
Not only that, we also emulate the ballers now. Right? Been doing it for years.
Yep.
No, but that's their
need them
prerogative.
anymore.
That's their prerogative. We can't. That's like somebody saying, "Oh, Nathan doesn't want to go into this channel, whatever." People do what they want to do.
No, but
No,
Nathan,
I'm not saying
hold
that
on,
people.
Nathan said they're scared.
What's with the Bobby Brown lyrics? Two lines. That was too much, Eli. You could have used the first and the second.
I do what I want to do.
But the claim is that they're boycotting, right? The claim is they're boycotting Nathan's channel. That's
Now,
what I've heard
other than
several of them say.
Well,
Other
they
than
are doing that. It's just not
other than the
the point of a boycott is that somebody then regresses and then starts to actually pay attention to what people are saying or something, right? Or adapt. Well, that's not working at all.
No, the
We're
desire
only
goes in
getting a
this
bigger
direction.
reputation, more subscribers, more viewers, more notoriety. So good luck with that boycott.
No. The desire goes in our direction as much as you're narrowing it down to just me. They want our attention as opposed to us wanting theirs. So it's akin to the prettiest girl in class that everybody wants to go out with, right? Everybody wants to ask her out, right? But it would be better if she asked them out, wouldn't it? Right? But she doesn't want to ask them out. She's not interested, right? So they say, well, I'm going to boycott the pageant you're part of because I don't want to look at you. That's what it's akin to.
Yeah.
Are you bringing it up?
I just think it's.
Sorry, Anthony.
Are you bringing it up? It is worth going through.
If you can grab it with a timestamp, then yeah.
Where do you want me to send the link to?
Whichever chat you're in. Or just to me if you're not in any chats because you've had an argument with everyone in them.
Or I'm just checking a backseat for a bit because there's too many people on our side that are spreading stories around that are basically lies. And it's just
I forgot to mention that. Stop. We're all in agreement. This is an echo chamber. We never argue. Anthony is still part of all of the groups. It's not all true. But just for the record.
It's not like he fell out with everyone.
He hasn't fallen out with everyone.
One or two people in each room.
Elongate it.
Everybody in each
Elongate it. He hasn't fallen out with everyone.
Listen, well, what a liar and deceiver doesn't understand is that God is truth, and truth will always cut through any lie that there is. Now, what we might be under the impression of is that these people aren't listening. They're coming here to stop us from saying what we have to say or asking the questions we need to ask of those who should have a justification for the things that we previously believed. Okay? But what actually happens is when you go outside and talk to people, like how I did yesterday, spoke to this young guy as a concierge, took the opportunity just to ask him, hey, you ever heard about flat earth? Because I wanted to know what the streets, like I wanted to know what just regular people, everybody's a regular person, right? I just wanted to know what people off of the internet, just random people that I could walk up to, what their idea of flat earth was. Because 100%, if you're a glober, maybe not 100% obviously, but it's a very high percentage, I would say 99%, that when you talk to these people, the idea of flat earth that they have is the cartoonish, ridiculous version that is actually good for you in that moment because you can explain to him or them how dumb that is and then explain what your arguments really were.
You mean the fan taking space from the Flat Earth Society?
The whomever, whatever people think, if they've seen the 5 or 10 things that prove it's a globe or disprove flat earth, or they watch Professor Dave, and it doesn't matter what it was, the reason that we're so powerful is because they are straw manning us, because they're actually giving people arguments that we don't have. So when we actually do come across these people, guess what? We have the best defense, which is telling the truth and giving them our actual position, which happens to be a super scorching criticism of the globe and all of its non-justified lies. So anyway.
Right. Well, the biggest challenge to me always to normies has been to actually explain how incredibly religious the globe really is and what it does to people, how they get obsessed in defending it, even though they technically don't understand it. But they will hold on and sacrifice social relations in the moment even to reinforce that religion. And that is the thing that a lot of people overlook. The biggest problem with the normies and the globers is that they don't see that it is actually a religion.
Yeah, I completely agree. Not only do I agree, that's how I teach it to my daughter as like a part of a religious education. So as much as some Christians might not like me juxtaposing it with some aspects of Christianity, that's how I phrase it to her. So like, yes, this group of people does think that's what the sky is. And you can, if you want to, believe it also. And that's how I always leave it. You know, it's like you can choose whatever you like to believe in, as long as you understand that it's a belief. It's just another way of understanding what the sky is and explaining it to the people. And various different religions will explain it because they've all got different gods. And in this current religion, they're planets. That's how I contextualize it. Because to me, that was the easiest way of doing it, without bashing it. Because in the same way, I can talk about Christianity all day long. There's no bashing involved. You just contextualize it for what it is.
False comparison fallacy.
Check your Skype, Nathan.
Yeah, that
brilliant, thank you.
Comparison, John.
Say again?
False comparison fallacy.
Oh, I knew it was going to spat that off.
All right. Go on. Do what you want to do.
Do what you want to do, what you want to do.
Could
Whoever
you
you
not
want
use
to
the
do
word?
it with. You got to get rumpus. You can't friggin' relax, can you?
Right, listen
Did
up,
you have
clowns.
breakfast?
Temperature is a measure of the average kinetic energy of the particles of a substance. We can pretty much describe space as a vacuum. Therefore, it lacks a significant number of particles with kinetic energy.
We can pretty much describe space as a vacuum, can we, Ranty? We can pretty much do that. You mean you can pretty much beg the question of the sky being a vacuum? Have you been back here? I mean, I know you're converted, but I'm pretty sure I personally have discussed the sky not being a vacuum and the reasons whys and wherefores. But we can pretty much just say it is now, can we, Ranty? That's a pretty much big assumption that you've made, my friend. No, we won't just pretty much just say it's a vacuum, so you can explain how that vacuum works after you pretty much just assumed it.
The thing about a vacuum is that it tends to get filled up with gas pressure if that is present somewhere in the vicinity.
Remember that imbecile got Jedi mind tricked by Wright the Hand and said the second law of thermodynamics is false because a friggin' flat tire doesn't spontaneously inflate?
And that was Ranty. Oh, I see what you mean. Was it Wright the Hand that tricked Ranty into believing that because they zero out a pressure gauge meter in a forecourt garage, that means that there's no pressure in the tyre until you insert it, and therefore it should just fill itself because 14.7 psi would fill the zero that's in the tyre according to the gauge. I don't know, Anthony. You think that's beyond... I mean, I've met Ranty. I know him reasonably well. I don't think that's what he's just said in that sentence was beyond his level of comprehension. So...
Well, to be fair, you've only listened.
I didn't know you could have tire pressure without a tire.
Wow, Anthony, you've got very high-pitched.
Hang on, you've only listened to one sentence. He does continue, and you should listen to the rest of it. It's about 6 sentences.
It is not possible for heat to travel to Earth by conduction or convection, so space is bloody cold. However, the electromagnetic energy from the sun is transferred to the particles on Earth by kinetic energy, and this is why the temperature of Earth is higher than the temperature of space. It is.
I can't take it. I cannot take it. That's not him.
Wow.
That is not Ranty. Anthony, you're 100% correct.
Yeah.
He said kinetic energy, man. That's not Ranty.
What the?
Yeah, man, kinetic energy just moves all that heat through the earth or something. What the hell was that?
God, you guys sicken me.
Sounds like Neil deGrasse Tyson.
So let's major on. Let's major on how this individual may or may not comprehend his own words, rather than the lack of validity for the assumption of a sky vacuum. That's pretty much just what it is. No. I couldn't give a toss. This guy. Who cares? It's just some guy.
Yeah, but it's a bit like, do you remember that evangelical kid? I can't remember his name, but he was only about 11, and he was going, "In the name of God, Lord Jesus Christ," and all this shouting. It reminds me of that, but in an adult form.
I think Flatzoid has been debating this about the ballers. Are they working from a script?
Of course they are.
Yeah, I think this is a good example of that. Because respectfully, I knew Ranty. I worked with Ranty on a few projects. He ain't pulling sentences like that out.
No, I agree.
Third time's a charm. I'll try this. Slow it down. Slow it down.
No,
Who cares?
our...
What is it? What's that phrase? What's that saying about small minds focus on individuals and...
No. Prejudging us.
Pardon?
I'm saying the validation is because I've got personal experience of this man, as opposed to Reds, some of the people that Flatzoid was taking. I can't look at them and go, yeah, they've had that put together for them. But I can in this case, because he used to be my friend. I used to work with him on projects. That's not his language at all. It's more like mine, isn't it?
Oh, God. I'm not going to be able to get away from this unless I confirm this. Okay,
yeah,
right, let's just do it. It's going to really make me cringe. I agree. Yes, it's very uncharacteristic of this individual.
Yeah, but Nathan, you're missing the major. You're missing the minor that we're making the major, right? We're not majoring on a minor. We're majoring on the major. Forget the argument he's making in this instance. It's not about the argument. It's about the way you
chills down my spine. Forget the argument he's making. Oh my God.
In this instance, in this one occasion.
Do it, Nathan. Forget it.
The reality is that it means there's an equivalent of the David Weiss on their side, providing all the scripts.
I wouldn't use David Weiss as the example. I wouldn't use David Weiss, but you're right. There is definitely a format that they're all using, and Ranty's being sucked into it. It's a cult.
You mean you're not using David Weiss anymore? He's not giving you any scripts, is he? Falling out with everyone.
I know.
No. I'm just saying that. Even
winter.
It's a bad example to use David Weiss.
The new scripts will come during springtime. Don't worry.
And then that'll be summer. And then
nothing wrong with the David Weiss example. I have no issue with David Weiss.
Yeah, but he's not. Let's not major on David Weiss. Let's just.
Oh, right. So it's all good for the goose.
Good for the gander. Yes. Let's not talk about David Weiss. Let's focus on Ranty again.
Nathan wins. Well, let's not focus on David Weiss. It's hypocritical when we are focusing on Ranty. He is correct. However, we all know that space can't be a vacuum and have matter in it at the same time.
I can't lie. The first thing
soothing
I
wash.
When I saw that
Feels much better.
I wish you would come here and tell us that.
Tony, he might have been correct if he did the Rumpus approach, claiming that gases are actually very small solids that are floating with space in between. Then it could work.
With little springs on them, right?
Yeah. Then if you go by that perspective, you could think of Ranty as being correct.
I see this as kind of like a crowd control type thing, because a lot more and more and more you're seeing these random people on TikTok and all these other social places talking about flat Earth, making these little few-second videos and asking questions. And now it seems like these globers have to start to respond to them in a more exaggerated way now, because I think it's starting to blow up to the point where if they don't start actually responding and placing straw mans for people to latch onto, it's going to be problematic. And I'm seeing it a whole lot. So it's pretty funny.
Is that it for Ranty?
For his claim that there's a sky vacuum by assumption. The only point that was interesting was when he said, hey, it's pretty much a vacuum. We can just say sky's pretty much a vacuum, can we? No, we can't.
Yeah.
We can't pretty much say that, Ranty. It's a violation of natural law to pretty much say that. So do you want to...
It was the admission that he says. He says, because I accept that there are one or two molecules maybe kicking around, it's not a perfect vacuum. Therefore, it's not quite a perfect vacuum, but roughly a vacuum. It was not a bad ball Winnie and brush over.
Yeah, pretty much a violation of natural law Ranty. Pretty much just no, definitely not. We wouldn't have any gas to breathe.
Yeah, Baldwin would never be caught saying it like that, okay?
Well, as far as
is that all the statements from Ranty? Are we done with Ranty?
Is there any more for any more, Anthony?
one more thing to add.
Well, it's not
Ranty
you, it's
said-
Ranty. Hold on.
I want to put somebody else.
Hold on. Anthony, is
Hold
there any
on a
more that haven't
second.
played that needs to be played?
Holy shit.
Hello? Anthony,
What?
is there any
I
more?
wasn't done with my statement yet.
Oh, okay.
So I'll say it again. Are we done? Is that all with Ranty?
I was trying to establish that. That's what I was trying to establish. Right, Anthony. Anthony.
Like that, right?
Tony, you don't really know Tony as much because when you say that like that, John, that means that Tony's going to bring it up again.
Huey has
Nathan knows that about him, so he's trying it the correct way.
I want to hear John's feelings on this. Come on, spill your emotion, Huey.
What? See, when you say John, you got to say QE because if you say John, it's the other John.
That's what I realised. Hence why I changed.
But you
John
do what
too.
you want to do, and you do it with what you want to do it with.
It's my prerogative.
Do what
That's
I
what
want to do.
That's from the mamas and the papas. They stole that from the mamas and the papas, man.
That's correct.
Did they really?
Why does it?
I didn't know that.
Why does it matter what Ranty says if he's a parroting or any of that? I've never met a heliocentrist arguing this topic that doesn't parrot other people.
Well, he pretty much wrote the book on flat Earth optics.
That's what he claims, isn't it?
Pretty much, eh?
That book available for paperback, hardback, ebook,
audiobook.
But he was around while Life is Short, one of my Patreons, pretty much was writing a book for an audience. It was about 6 or 7 hours, maybe even longer, long when he dissected it. You know, just basically presented all of his information. I mean, that you could call writing the book on flat Earth refraction because he broke it down in such a I don't want to say concise way, but it was very, very detailed and it took a long time. Ranty was there for the ride, so was I.
So back to the topic. Is that it for Ranty?
Anthony can answer.
No, for the third time. No, I've already said no three times.
I didn't hear you. I didn't hear you. Go ahead.
I'm pretty sure we can move on.
I know. I'm only making a thing of it. It doesn't really matter if I get to say this or not. Nobody really cares. It doesn't matter.
Keep asking that.
It's only about Ranty.
Okay, good. I'm glad we clarified. Right, let's move on.
Are we going to move on? And I
think so.
Move on.
I'm only
Brian was
joking.
trying to
Go
say-
ahead, Brian.
It doesn't matter. It's inconsequential. It's just like.
Oh, don't be like that.
No, I won't be able to go to bed tonight now. Just say it.
We want you to
Randy
tell
said,
us about it. We want you
space-
to.
I got something a little bit more
Oh,
juicy.
don't rumpus him. That's mean. Especially as you moaned 3 minutes ago.
Go ahead.
Randy said space would be cold. No, space wouldn't be cold, wouldn't be hot. Can't have temperature. We don't have gas to heat. You'd have radiative heat to space within the heliocentric model. That's what you'd have. So it wouldn't be cold. You can't. How would you know it's cold if there's no gas to heat?
But wouldn't you?
And
would
also,
the
what
hold on.
space?
Wouldn't the moist like start to evaporate? Wouldn't that create cold at least? Like a cooling effect?
In Narnia, let's move on. QE, did
In
you
a
have something to
vacuum.
add to the end of this? Yes,
Just a
Brian. They
vacuum.
would also need gas to have temperature. So we're talking about temperature is completely non sequitur because it's nonsense, you know. But we're not going to discuss this further. We're not going to discuss how things in Narnia work. There is no
No,
Narnia.
it's not
not
about
pretty much
Narnia.
Narnia. Anyway,
No, a vacuum chamber, right?
no, because they're not
I
claiming
mean,
a chamber
the
up
thing
there, are
in
they?
there can have a temperature, and if then the gas is all evacuated, then eventually moist in that object might start to evaporate. Doesn't the evaporation pretty much unconditionally cause a cooling effect?
In a vacuum chamber, as opposed to the
Yeah.
sky.
Yeah, I know.
if there's no air, then you were not going to have any. If there's no gas, you won't have any heat because you can't. If there's no gas, there's no conductive or convective heat.
Yeah, but there is
There's only radiative
evaporation
heat.
though. But there is a transition of a liquid state to a gaseous state. Doesn't that inherently cool?
Well, if the transition would happen where? Your body?
Yeah, in your body. So you would effectively get cold. It wouldn't be like, oh, the
But
vacuum
there'd
is
have to
feeling
be
cold, but you
temperature
will
for
get
that to
cold
happen.
because
You need
the water is
temperature for that to
evaporating.
happen.
No.
Your body temperature maybe might cause that. Your body temperature possibly might cause it with the vacuum. But Adam will answer.
I would say no, because we're not taking latent heat of vaporization away from the body for the water molecules to take thermal energy to evaporate. We're reducing the atmospheric pressure. Therefore, we don't need the heat, do we? We've got sufficient heat. Yeah, we're taking the air pressure so that the vapor pressure will match. So
that sounds like a response Ranty would give.
Yeah, well, it's dealing with nonsense, isn't it? You're dealing with Princess Leia when she goes across space, don't you? When a spaceship blows up, you're dealing with that fantasy scenario, really, aren't you? With suddenly where you've got a contained amount of water within cells, what's going to happen to those cells? It's the same as the astronauts in the vacuum chamber. The tongues will start bubbling, won't they?
Yeah, but she has metachlorians in her that prevent that from happening.
Well, it slows that entropic effect.
Not Star Wars movies.
This is the reality, isn't it? In terms of where in reality do we see it? Nowhere. The only place we see these things is in science fiction.
Is Anthony still here?
Anthony?
Yes.
No, I think we are done with the ranty subject, though, thank God. Did you have something to add, Kiwi?
No.
Was there something you wanted to move
No,
on to?
I had something a little bit more juicy, but it's going to work better with Anthony in here.
Anthony, you around? He's not here.
What the hell, man?
No, I am. I can never get a microphone in it, so stick it on mute, do the dishes. I'm here. What's up, John?
Yeah, he had to turn off his video game.
Yeah, I got something. It's going to come out with the 4th episode of the treatment, not the 3rd episode. 3rd episode's coming. But I think it's the 4th episode. I can't remember. It's somewhere around there. But anyway, you know, with your imbeciles, the engineer and the astronomer. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about.
I do.
Unsolicited, you bring me up, right? You bring my name up and an argument, right? I was kind of shocked, right, that it would go this way. A couple other people have done that recently, specifically to this topic, so it's very ironic. But anyway, the topic is, this is what you said. You don't agree with QE on the ontological primitives. You think it's a false dichotomy. And then your 3rd choice was we came here on a mothership. What the fuck, man?
Well, me personally, I think there is 3. I think there is 3. I think that we could come from another realm and we could come on a spaceship.
What? That's an infinite regress fallacy.
Yeah, shocking that.
Yeah, because
that spaceship's also intelligent design.
Who made the spaceship? Oh, John got there first. Sorry, John.
Yeah, okay, but ultimately, how did we get here on this Earth, right? Regardless of whether there's more Earths or not, ultimately, we could have evolved according to them. We could have been created according to God or Bible or whatever. Or the other one is that we came from somewhere else and we were dropped here for our own good.
Intelligent design.
Second time. Hold on. He's ignoring
design,
me.
yeah.
Hold on.
Intelligent design.
No. That's an infinite regress fallacy. Do you know what that means?
Yeah, I do. It's where you keep going back and I do know what an infinite regress is. But ultimately, the question is closed to this Earth, our realm. It's not anticipating that there may be other realms. How did we get here? So from the perspective of where we live, it's not an infinite regress. We could have been dropped here, but that doesn't mean we need to know where we came from. But we could have been dropped here because it might be that NASA, imagine that there's NASA already, and imagine that they've already explored some far-off worlds, and we were sent here on NASA's mothership to populate the other planet, and they're going to call it Earth.
That's not. Hold on. You're missing it. That's not. You're not giving a third choice to my argument.
This is the Richard Dawkins failure. I forget his Stein. Stein interviews him, and he gets him to that point where he's pointing out that there is design within nature, that it has intelligent design within it. So he concedes that and says, so it's most likely then aliens that seeded this planet. And Stein comes back to him and says, well, who created the aliens then?
Yeah.
You can shove it back there. As Nathan says, it's a regress fallacy. But the reality is, ultimately, there is intelligent design within the way we're constructed.
I completely agree.
So
I see the infinite regress fallacy arguments, but what I do is that I get around it by saying I'm only limiting the argument to the realm in which we live. So if there are external realms, that then makes the infinite regress. But I'm not saying that there is or is not. I'm just saying that where we live, there's three ways we could have got here, in my view, not just two.
Negative.
Right? I accept that it's an infinite regress.
Yeah, it's not a viable third option. So the dichotomy is true.
And even in the claim of someone dropping you there is still an intelligent design, aka creator scenario.
Agreed.
So no, it's not a third option.
Well, I accept that. I accept that. But limited to our Earth's experience, our day-to-day living, there may be other worlds out there, but we can only work on the one that we're in. So we have to assume that the one that we're in is either one of many or it's one of one.
Irrelevant.
It is irrelevant once you've conceded the point, because you're now saying, no, I agree that it's part of the second option only. Therefore, there has to have been an outside influence, a creator. You accept that, but you whistle past the graveyard. Yeah, but beyond that, well, no, you've already conceded not only that there's only two options, but you agree with the second.
It depends on whether you see the Earth as one of one. It's whether you see the Earth as one of one or whether you see the Earth as one of many. And I think that we probably, unless there's evidence to the contrary, we're one of one.
Yeah, but that's
hold on.
That's not relevant.
That's an argument from ignorance fallacy, by the way.
Well,
it's not relevant to the
there is actually evidence.
Primitive.
Hold on. So within our past history, just the way that things have been defined semantically has changed to the point where your question can be answered, but in oldie type tongue, because there are new worlds as defined on maps, and they are in outer space beyond the horizon. In other words, the terminology of finding new worlds, which has happened in relatively recent history, has happened in outer space. So, I think there is a reasonable chance that there's more worlds, more new worlds, implying that they've already found new worlds, just not new anymore, not described that way on the maps anymore. But by inference, why wouldn't that continue to be a trend? Well, you'd need to lock down the entirety of the surface and make it finite. Sphere-shaped would do it.
So back to John's point. Am I being chastised by John, or are you just correcting something, or are we fighting, or are we just talking?
Well, to QE's point, you conceded his second ontological primitive supposition and conceded that there's still only two options. You also, without saying it, conceded that there wasn't a third option that you were offering, but you just whistle past the graveyard to say, but beyond that I agree with, in the second, there must be a creator to have created the spaceship that's used in this non sequitur. There's a further question to be asked. It's like, but you've already answered the ontological primitive at that point. You've given your affirmation of that there must be a creator of some kind.
No, I agree. For me, I'm just trying to find the argument that makes it not a false dichotomy.
It isn't a false dichotomy. It's just a dichotomy. One is false, one is correct.
So I'm just trying to look for the third, because for me, I don't like.
I know the other one. I don't know why you overlooked it, but that's the nonsense, illogical hearsay of we were always there, right? That's actually the third option, but it's totally illogical.
Yeah, you can't have that one.
It's either intelligent design.
Yeah, but you can't have the other one either. So
it's either
only one
intelligent
that really works, but there are you could think of the third option, and that's it. That's the only one that's actually a different option.
Right,
And
but that's an argument from ignorance to say that there's a third option that you don't know, because it's either intelligent design or it's nature. There is
or
no
we
other
were always
scenario.
there.
No, that's
And it isn't nature, and we were not always there, because that's illogical. So there you go.
So back to my question to John, QE, am I being chastised or are we not fighting?
No, it doesn't have to be chastisement. It was pretty funny when you brought it up. I thought it was hilarious. I was caught off guard when it came up.
I just don't like it. I don't like accepting the ontological primitives of just there being two. I want there to be a third at least, because I want to call it a false dichotomy, but I can't find a third. But I want to find a third.
I just gave it to you.
You didn't. You gave me a third, and I dismissed it.
Yeah, but that is the only other alternative that you could even think of. Trust me on this.
That we were already here. No, you can't have that.
Yeah, I know, but you can't have being born from nature and having design from nature either. So, right? Does that mean that you should then? Oh, but I know that's wrong. So it's not a dichotomy then. It's just the one. No, you know it's wrong,
like
but it is a train of thinking that is an alternative. So there you go.
No, it's not an alternative, because if you say which came first, the chicken or the egg, just say that they both always existed. This is non sequitur.
Yeah,
It's
but it
absurd.
is an answer though.
You can't say that the who came first, chicken or the egg, they both existed. That's absurd. You can't have
Well,
that. You've
maybe
got-
before time started, they literally were just always there.
Time.
And then time started, and then it's
Man
like, oh,
created
and now one thing comes after the other. Well, before that, there wouldn't be anything before anything else. It would just be there.
I think ultimately we are asking that question, what came first, the chicken or the egg, when we ask the question about the ontological primitives. We are asking that. It's just in a different form, but it is the same point. And there is no obvious answer to it. It's like you can, depending on how you view it, if you view it as a whatever, you can say, well, it was this or that or the other, and you can form
There is an
arguments
obvious
either way.
answer.
How about
There is
this
an obvious
question?
answer.
What came
Well, there
first?
is. The blind and the obvious answer is we must have been created.
What
Right,
came
the
first?
chicken had to be created to lay the egg.
No.
What
I
came
was,
first?
I was just gonna say, isn't the
Oh,
problem
God.
with the chicken and the egg that where the hell did the chicken or the egg come from?
Yeah,
Isn't
They
that
were just
problem?
always there.
No,
Chuck.
if you're gonna make it, if you're gonna make a parallel, then it's was it the egg or the chicken that came first? You can't introduce anything else.
No, you can. You
Stop
can
it.
say that God, at the time of creation, made a rooster and a chicken sitting on an egg.
No, but that's just going back to that. I mean, then in that case, you don't even need the parallel with the chicken and the egg. You could just say, okay, yes, God created it, wasn't nature. That's the whole point. That's the parallel.
No,
well, the chicken that
Sorry to
creates the
interrupt.
egg,
Just one
it's
second.
God that creates.
Sorry to
Well,
interrupt.
look
No,
at
the
it like
chicken
this.
paradigm
Bear
is,
with me.
is
Just bear with me, Adam. So, chicken and the egg are lying on a bed, smoking a post-coital cigarette. And
Look.
chicken says to the egg, well, that settles that argument.
Nice. But look, logically, the chicken would have to come first, because if the egg was there and the chicken was not there to hatch it, then it would have never hatched, because you have to keep the egg warm. While a
No, the
chicken
chicken wasn't
can have,
first.
hold on. A chicken does
Chicken
have,
wasn't first.
chickens have like the option to make eggs though, inherently
Chicken
to the
wasn't first,
design.
though.
No, that's not
So-
true. Chicken has to be first. I love it.
No.
Sorry.
No.
Where
Yeah,
did
because a chicken
What's
can
the
make
origin
an
of a
egg
chicken?
inherently.
Oh,
An
don't
egg
help me.
cannot make a
Ugh.
chicken without a chicken hatching it,
Right.
because
No.
then it just stay cold.
Chicken came from an egg, didn't it?
You're missing the
Was the egg
nuance.
fertilized?
I'm gonna have to bow my way in here. Chicken didn't come first. Chicken always was.
so was the egg.
What?
Were made at the same time.
Was the egg fertilized?
Yeah, it doesn't answer the question. The
No,
egg
chicken
always
came
was.
first.
Is equally valid.
No. Wait,
A
yeah,
chicken can make an egg without an egg. egg cannot make a chicken without a chicken.
I like hearing Eli and Darwin
Can I just say
simultaneously.
something?
That's the
Come
best way
on,
to hear the
everybody's
two
talking
of
over
them.
me every time.
Ideally, while I'm telling them both to not do it.
time.
Best if it's three of us talking.
said
That's
it-
the ideal
Can I just-
ideal broadcast material.
You said it 3 times, Arwen. No, we heard you. I want to play too. But well, I agree with QE because yeah, you're right. Because you're trying to elicit the infinite regress fallacy by saying no, the chicken came from the egg. So the chicken always was in this example.
I've got the definitive answer. I know what came first. Given enough time, enough amino acids or protons or whatever nonsense, they could randomly form together to create the little tiny egg. That's the answer. Given enough time.
The time's the cause. Hold on. That square root of 16 causes time.
Yeah.
So time.
Yeah, time.
No, it's a chicken. Because an egg cannot make a chicken without a chicken, but a chicken can make an egg without an egg.
That's
you go.
fine, but irrelevant because, as I said, God made both of them first together at the same time to stop this problem, so you wouldn't have this mental quandary.
Well, why didn't God just make the chicken and give him the ability to bear eggs? Because
To stop this argument. So he said, I know what I'll do to stop people stressing over this. I'll make both at the same time. As I'm God, I can do that. Yeah, solves the problem. Moving forwards, though, we'll have chickens doing things to make eggs.
So
God wouldn't need to make them both because the chicken can just make the egg.
Arwen, and I know you heard me. So, and John was before you, but I was before John. So, damn, what was I gonna say though? Oh,
Little bastard! You got a mic and then crash.
The chicken and the egg. What'd you say, Adam? Please repeat the last.
I said you can have that quandary. The point is, God made them both at the same time, just so the chicken would know what to do moving forwards. Created it, sitting on the egg, saying, "This is kind of your role in life. Crack on, or don't crack on."
Oh my God! You're saying that the egg is first because God was hatching the first egg?
No, you're not
That is
listening,
so
Owen.
cheating.
Owen, you're
Causing
not
feedback.
listening.
Eli's
I
causing
said-
feedback. Eli, you're causing a load of feedback.
I said
Well, that's
the
because I was
making.
supposed to talk instead of Arwen. That's why.
Yeah, well, Owen did misunderstand what I said. So, yeah. Same time. Therefore, there's no need for the argument. And you can't prove or disprove me. Can you?
That's
You
awesome,
can't-
Bert.
Yeah.
That creates the argument.
That's awesome. I like that burden proof reversal. That's good stuff.
No, that creates
John.
the argument. I could have just made one first, and then we'd have been like, well, he made one first. Now we're stuck with which one came first. Like,
Well, Nathan settled that.
What about the rooster?
Did John say bird of proof reversal?
Yeah, the bird of proof reversal and the infinite chicken syndrome we got in this one.
That was a good one. Bird and of proof reversal. That was brilliant.
I like the infinite chicken better though.
Who said the
Nathan?
infinite chicken? I had to get up and walk away for a second.
The
Which one-
infinite
who said
chicken
that?
fallacy. Hmm.
Chicken always was.
Nathan,
so-
I'm going to do a presentation in a minute, just before you, in case you're thinking about doing anything.
Cancel it.
No. Just give me a couple of minutes, okay? Richie.
We don't need to be educational, Brian. We're talking about infinite chickens.
Yeah, don't raise the tone too much.
So, what was your response there, Nathan?
My response was going to be based on the ontological primitives. Number one can't be answered either way, but whichever chicken or egg came first, it was created.
Agreed.
Nah,
has to
there
be.
wasn't. I told you. How many times I got to say this? It's not first.
See, John agrees.
Was
Both
the
at the
ex-
same time.
Okay, no, it took me a second to process what you meant. You're saying always was.
Yep.
No, because that renders the whole
No,
premise of
yeah.
asking the ontological primitives question void, doesn't it? If it always was, then you're saying that Arwen's right, and it wasn't that there was a creation at all. It was just always
No,
always
I
a
didn't.
chicken
The,
first?
the chicken, the creator, always. What? There is no sequence here. It's not a sequence question. The ontological primitives aren't a sequence question. Do you follow that?
Yeah, it's either or.
Yeah. So that takes sequence out of it, and it doesn't have anything to do with it anyway. It's non sequitur. Chicken always was.
No, that is saying that the chicken always existed.
No, yeah.
No,
yeah.
no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Oh,
chicken-
no.
Yeah, but what do you
can't
consider
always-
as always if at some point time didn't exist yet?
I'm with Anthony and his
you're
objection.
with
So
the
let's have
Elmer Fudd
Anthony
rhetoric.
air it. Hello, Anthony, go ahead.
I didn't say anything, did I?
Yeah, I thought. Well, maybe it wasn't you, but I thought someone had said,
Huey.
"Look, if you were to say always was as an answer, then it renders the whole which which is it, creator or nature, right?"
Can I ask QE to define always, please?
No,
In
God
terms of-
always,
in-
God always was, not the creation.
That's what I'm asking to clarify. What always? The chicken always was. What does the always apply to?
So is your butt? So is your butt still hurt over divine rape?
No, I'm just asking for Socratic understanding. There's certainly a nuance in there, as there always is with you. That's why I'm just trying to find it.
All right.
So the term always was. Could you just explain that, clarify it a bit?
Always. It's self-explanatory. By the way, I don't have to define always.
So
if
we
you
can
go
take
back,
it as that meaning.
listen. I'm not done yet. Just fucking relax. You missed the nuance here that maybe other people got it. This isn't a sequence question.
It is though.
No, it's not.
The
How can
ontological
it not be a
no,
sequence?
QE saying the ontological primitives aren't comparable because they're not sequence based.
What about the rooster?
But see,
I hope
the
that's
chicken
what
or
he's
the
saying,
egg
because-
argument, the chicken or the egg argument is derivative of evolution. So you've accepted evolution, and then you're trying to figure out which one came first. That was QE's point.
But you said, what about the rooster?
I don't know about that. What the hell is evolution? Shut up with the rooster.
Nature being the creator, and then you have to have one come first, and that comprehension. If you're asserting that, then the chicken or the egg had to come first.
So I am right then.
If you're
now,
accepting
right.
nature as the creator.
Was the egg fertilized?
If nature was first, then the egg is first, but it isn't.
Okay, let's ask it
So the
differently.
chicken is first.
If we accept that there was or can only have been an external force or an external entity to create us, which did he create or she create first, chicken or the egg?
Oh, see, that's a different question.
It's got to be the egg, hasn't it?
No, both at the same time.
No, because you'd need a chicken factory.
No, you're God. You can do what you want. If you want to create a chicken as just a chicken, you can. If you want to create a chicken sitting on an egg, you can. And to make it simple, create a chicken on the egg to stop all this nonsense in the future when you create supposedly higher forms of life.
Would it be easier
But
if
the
I
thing
changed
is,
the question to
If that
snake?
was true, then it wasn't very effective because we're still discussing it right now.
Every point you can make
what if
after
the
you
egg
accept the
produces a rooster?
creator is an argument from ignorance. So all you can do is make an argument from ignorance because you don't know. But if you accept the ontological primitive, it has nothing to do with sequence.
Right, exactly. It's an either or option, not a sequence question.
How about if we make it about beluga whales and caviar? Which came
Ah,
first?
beluga whales, that's copyrighted.
What, shooting beluga whales in a barrel or something?
No, that's hippos in a fishbowl. Beluga whales is anytime.
I love that one.
Yeah, I like
It's a
the
cute little mini hippo.
I like the illustration you had made for that shooting hippos in a fishbowl. I was looking at that the first time I saw. I was like, "What the hell?" He's got his crossbow aimed at a hippo in a fishbowl.
Wasn't a crossbow.
Wasn't a
Compound
crossbow.
bow. It was supposed to be a
Oh my
pregnant
God.
hippo. Now, let me say this. It wasn't a crossbow. That was a compound bow. And I initially wanted a pregnant hippo, but it's really difficult to portray a hippo as being pregnant because it's fat as hell anyway.
Okay.
Plus the
king
one that
of,
you had in that
majoring
fish
on the
bowl
minor.
was
And
male.
you shouldn't shoot pregnant animals
Unless
for no reason.
Animal, in which case it's permitted.
What?
Now, you can shoot pregnant dumb animals. I've been shooting them.
No.
Wait till the next episode. I'm gonna have to announce the next episode of the treatment beforehand. So it's either gonna be Wednesday or Thursday evening, just to let everyone know here. But you don't miss this. I'm
Don't
telling
shoot
you.
pregnant animals.
Before
Unless
Brian
it's wrong.
starts, QE, I need to know, why is a chicken always?
I already explained that to you.
You haven't. Not satisfactory.
Okay, my eggs are done. I'll have to go. I'll be back in a couple seconds.
Okay. So obviously the eggs came first then, because he hasn't got the
The
chicken.
irony here.
Eggs come first.
Yeah.
He's having an
Hold on.
omelet.
Hold on, guys.
All right,
What if you have
Brian.
one egg and the egg is a male? If it's a rooster?
Yeah, exactly. And that's why the chicken comes first. Every time. Because a chicken can make many eggs, of which some are male and some are female. But one egg is just one egg, and something has to hatch it. So, yeah, chicken first, definitely.
You're
So you had to make a
arrogant in
chicken and a
ignoring the
rooster.
creator, are we? It's just arrogance, all of you. You making an assumption that you know how the creator did something based on logic.
I got a question.
I'm trying
No,
that's why I said
that's
it's
the
the
most valid
argument.
point. Stop, everyone stop.
Oh.
Adam's point was the most valid so far. If we're going to assert that there's an outside influencer that can do anything, make the ground, make a tree, make the air, do any of those things, it seems so menial and insignificant to question which of those two things came first. We're beyond all levels of comprehension and logic in terms of just creating one grain of sand. It's beyond all levels of comprehension and logic to even contemplate it. So to take it up to the nth degree in terms of complexity and ask which came first in terms of chicken and egg is silly. And Adam's right.
Right. Well,
No,
and
but
Adam
it's
also
not
pointed out.
If
Adam
you
also-
just resort to basic logic like I've done, because logic is always what it is. It's
And that
like,
applies to-
why would you be
and that-
more
and that applies to-
complicated when you can do it simple?
And that applies to...
again, then.
Hold on. Let me just ask Arwin. And that applies to let's assume we're all on the same page and not argue about this aspect, but the creator, right? That applies to the
course.
creator, does it? The realms of
Yeah,
logic and
he
how we know
invented
things
it.
to work in our
Right.
world?
And there's
He
your arrogance.
invented it for us.
There's your arrogance for you to have understanding. You arrogantly have to ascribe how the creator works. And the only way you can do it is in your limited understanding with things like logic. It's not the majesty of the creator. You're just trying to express how you would do it with your limited skills if you were the creator.
Right.
There's no validity whatsoever that's how the creator did it.
I didn't say how the chicken would have been designed. I'm just saying like how it would have normally
Straw man, not
started
addressing
out.
the point.
Uh,
That's not what I said.
I'm not trying to ascribe anything about the
Yeah,
design.
let's not worry about who's not doing what.
You said
Hold on.
biologic.
I think we've got Brian. We all cancelled everything for this. So...
Can I say one more thing? Can I say one more
I can
thing?
wait a minute if you want to argue.
Okay, Brian's all right for us to have a little row amongst ourselves while he gets ready. Go ahead, Eli.
Just one more thing. Thank you. And of course, I forgot again. I was gonna try to address either Arwen or oh man, forget it. Whatever.
Have you asked for the mic and forgotten what you were going to say for the second time in this show?
Yeah, because every time I talk, I know my mic is low. It's like I have the point, and then someone else goes, and I'm trying to follow what they're saying, and then I forget what the previous person said.
Yeah, the creator had to create
Arwen
the
was
male and the
saying then,
female.
Eli,
Hold on, Adam. Go ahead, Jorge.
Now the creator had to do the chicken and the rooster at the same time. It needs to have one pink and one blue always.
But see, Adam already destroyed it.
I remember.
Adam already destroyed this.
Hold on, it's very important. Eli's remembered. Go ahead, Eli.
And I think Arwen's utilizing related reasoning, or if he attempts to answer the question with only a priori knowledge, that's what's arrogant about it, because you actually don't have a posteriori data to make the assertion.
I've only logical inference.
I've got another.
No, that's what I'm saying. Why would it? What logically, if you don't have a priori data, you wouldn't make the inference. That's what logic would dictate. Not.
Well, I'm going by that everything that we're ended up with right now has a starting point, and that's the train of thinking. So
can I use logic, Arwen?
If it was all completely different, yeah, then I have no idea. But if it was anything like the long-term effects that we experience right now and how things work, then this is just a logical conclusion.
Right. So can I use logic with that, Arwen? Yeah. So logically, how would you make a chicken? And this is your whole construct. You would logically make a chicken by taking two other chickens and making an egg. That's how you would make it. How would God make a chicken?
Well,
how would God make an egg? Is it logical to assume that God would make things in the same way that you make things?
You would say, let there be chicken.
No, it's not. Hold on.
No, so it's not logical.
Absolutely wrong.
So your applied logic then, a justification as to which came first, was based upon how you would make a chicken, not how God would make a chicken.
Yeah, but we don't make things from scratch. We don't design the chicken and then bring it into existence. We can just reproduce what already exists.
Exactly. So it's not logical to say that God would make it this way because this is the way I would have to make it, because you admit via logic that God doesn't make things the way we make them. Therefore, to apply that logic to answer the determinative of which came first based on that logic is illogical.
That's a straw man.
Because also brilliant logic.
Hold on. Don't every fucking body rumpus over me, okay? Yeah, that's wrong. It's a straw man because I did not even address anything about that. This is purely on the moment that God designed it, put it there. How can it then start to be what it was meant to be? How would that work? What are the necessities? This is
my point.
So rudimentary. It has nothing to do with anything about the design process.
Once again, you are going back to how you would do it first. I'm saying logically, God doesn't work like you do. God doesn't even have to have time.
Man.
No, it's not.
It is because I'm not talking about how I would do it. That's a straw man. I'm not talking about how I would do it. Again, I already specifically addressed this and said, no, this is about God puts something there and then it has to function. That's the premise, the only premise, not on how I would do it.
Why didn't God put the egg there as well? What's the determinant, the logic that you're using that we didn't have a chicken and egg at the same time? How do you know, using logic, that God didn't do that?
Because it's not necessary, and he would know. And going by the premise that he knows everything and how his designs work, and it's not necessary because a chicken would make eggs.
It's not necessary.
In there. So every chicken has eggs to become eggs in them.
So by your logic, that's why you're ruling that out.
Yeah, I'm going by referencing actual known facts about what things are.
Stuff from your world, your reference, not God's realm.
Yeah, physical reality, the thing that we're actually discussing.
No, we're not. We're discussing God.
No, we're discussing how physical reality came to be.
No, we were discussing whether the chicken or the egg came first.
The question on the table: what came first, the chicken or the egg? It's not about how. It's not about what is God. No, it's about a physical matter and how it manifests. You're wrong.
The question on, well, let's restart then. The question on the table was which came first, the chicken or the egg. We accepted that it's a created form, right? Now you have now decided to decide which came first. I proposed the alternative, which there could have been both at the same time. Yeah, because God is not limited by the simple logic that you're applying. Oh, it's not necessary to have this. It's not. No, might not be, but it does not mean that was not God's will. And there's no way that you can use logic to dictate God's will.
God's will?
Yeah, whether he wanted a chicken first, an egg first, or both first.
I'm just going by logic. I don't know, man. Hey! No, don't do that to me. Okay, so if God specifically desired to have the egg first and have something to hatch it, then yeah, sure, the egg can be first. But if God just hold on, let me freaking finish, man. If God just created something and then let it be, then it would be a lot more logical to start out with the chicken, because the chicken is already made to reproduce. He designed it that way. That is all.
More logical to start with the chicken to who? Logical to you.
No, more logical from the premise that you just put something there and then leave it be.
How many times have you been a creator to apply the logic that you're saying it's more logical to do this? How many things have you created?
I don't know.
No,
I'm just going by that premise. I'm not saying that that premise is the ultimate premise, and I would like you to really stop strawmanning me with this shit.
I'm not
sure. I'm just going by one logical premise that I already explained.
Hold on, no, technical thing. Hold on, technical thing.
No,
Adam,
then
you're
stop
just
it.
causing a bit of
Stop
feedback
pushing me with this
when you're
shit.
being rumpus by Arwin. You're just causing a bit of feedback. So there's quite a lot of God in Arwin's voice, which was quite appropriate.
I just want to point out something about what Adam said, because the question is which came first. When he introduced the idea of simultaneity, he eliminates that as a question that has any logical reasoning behind it. He destroyed the sequence logic of it. So to continue to argue against that is illogical.
Perfect.
Cool.
With that, I'm going to say another massive, huge, enormous thank you to both Discord. No, not Discord. Do it every time. Gilded and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And, of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!